Welcome to episode number 13, lucky number 13 of Tough Table. I want to briefly introduce our panel today. First, we have DFAC co-founder Rich Fitter, all right. WNBF Bikini Pro and World Champion Shauna. Probably sick of seeing her.
Yeah, probably.
WNBF Bikini Pro Sara Lieber and WNBF Fit Body Pro Taniya Brandon. So everyone here is new. We even have a new sixth man, all right? Brian, one of my best friends, a.k.a. Dulla, a.k.a. Do Boogie, okay? So before we get started, I want to just go around the table and we'll do a brief intro for the newbies. And we're basically looking at, what motivated you to get involved in the fitness industry and why did you guys choose Team SUF? And Rich, for you, why the hell did you choose to accept the invite to Tough Table? So we'll start this way. So we'll start with T. You're up first.
What's up?
And you're good to go.
All right.
Give me that countdown.
I started in the fitness industry in 2008. So it's been a while. And along that journey, I tried getting ready for shows by myself. I tried getting help from coworkers who were in the industry as well. But I linked up with Ryan because I liked the formula. I liked everything that he put together, and it really works with how I like to get ready for things. And I was introduced to Ryan through another competitor as well. So then seeing the results of that competitor was like, all right, yeah, maybe I should check out Ryan, see what's up with him. So that's kind of how I got started and why I'm with stuff.
So I was an athlete growing up my whole life, and then I work in the restaurant industry, and when you work 12-hour days in the restaurant industry, you put on a few pounds. And when I decided in 2015 that I wanted to get into fitness, I actually swore I would never get on stage in a sparkly bikini. And oops. I had, oops. And then that tumbleweeded, had my first show, placed first in novice, and was runner-up.
Wait, first show was when? 15?
No, in 16.
16, okay.
In 16 was first in novice and then runner-up for the overall, and it kind of just went from there. And then in the beginning of 2017, after I had my first season of competing, I had seen Ryan and SUF at some shows, and knowing a little bit more about the industry and shows in general, I reached out to Ryan and thought that it was a better match for me with how I like to train and the knowledge that I already had. Been with Ryan since January of last year. Went through 5 great shows last year.
Got some ups and downs. But
ups and downs,
good,
but here we are, pro bikini, and
yes.
on to the next one. So
good.
Yeah.
Off to you.
We're skipping Shauna.
No, everyone knows Shauna.
Okay, all right. I just I didn't want to be rude and just jump in.
Thanks.
Let me see. I started in the fitness industry in 1984 as a trainer. Started lifting weights back in '79.
I was one then.
Yeah, we were one. God, I feel old.
You weren't even born.
I was born in 83, guys.
79.
But he said, what did he say about 84?
Well, I started working as a trainer in '84.
Yeah,
I started lifting in '79, and at the time, I never really, as much as I wanted to, I never really looked at competing because there really wasn't much of natural bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So I got more into the powerlifting. I did that in the 90s and kind of, messed up my knee, messed up my back, shoulders, and tried to find a kinder, gentler sport. Started competing in 99, realized by 2006 it was time to maybe try to do something else to stay involved in the sport, and just moved into the front office of the WNBF, and then in 2011, the end of 2011, moved on and formed the DFAC with Vicky McCann, Guy Addison, and Mike Lebowski.
Nice. Okay. And why did you accept this invite?
My car broke down outside. I'm waiting for a tow. I've known Ryan since he started, SUF. I think that was that the Hercules or the Natural Mania?
Yeah, that was back in, my first show was 06, and I competed in 07 at the Herc, and then, all the run, prepping Cody in 8, 9, 10, so yeah. It's been a while, yeah.
When I had the purple jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly deeper shade than this.
Yes.
And Ryan's just somebody that, I respect for all he's done in the industry. He's got integrity, which is kind of rare in this business. And we're friends, and he asked me to come on the show, so here I am.
Fair enough. Got a good, nice little intro there. Ready to roll this into topic one. Good to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all right. All right, so rolling into main topic 1, all right, the ugly side of competing and how to avoid it. So the competition and fitness community can be a great place if you surround yourself with the right people. On the other hand, there is a truly ugly and dangerous side of competing in fitness. We're here today to discuss how to avoid these negatives. But first, let's go with Joe Bijic with how he deals with his food cravings.
You gonna go up there now?
Yeah, because we're supposed to go to 10.
Yo, go up there and call if anything happens.
Alright.
Okay, so main topic 1. I'm not starting, not it. Ugly side of competing. Who's starting? I think since you're a world champion, you start.
Wow. That's how it is.
That's a special title.
One of the things I think is the fact that every competitor, no matter how hard they try, there are times where there's no balance. I know a lot of people try to preach balance, but if you're serious and competing, there are times where there is no balance. You have to be all in. There are sacrifices that you have to make. You can't get away with being normal throughout the time.
Well, I mean, when you talk about balance, I always talk about people who compete too often.
Okay.
Too often. It's like year after year after year after year, and then it's like spring and fall seasons, and then even that off season that they may have, which isn't even that long. It's a
matter of 8 weeks.
Or they're not having enough calories anyway. They're not like bringing certain hormones back to to normal. And it's just such a stress on the body, and you see these people, they don't improve. They
sometimes get worse.
Yes, they don't improve. And at that point, it's just like, you got to sit.
Yeah.
You got to sit.
And I understand the whole stage itch where it's like, okay, like it's hard to watch your friends, as happy as you are for them. It's hard to see people get up there, and it's like, oh, I wish I was up there too.
But you're sitting in the crowd, like, itching to want to jump up there. And I think when I started, I had no concept of what it meant to compete until after I had my first year of competing. I did a show in July, and then I held off, and then I did October and November. And I was like, okay, like, this is fine. And then when 2017 came around and I joined SUF, Ryan was like, when are you thinking of competing? And I picked almost a season. And I was like, okay, well, I'm a fall competitor naturally, and kind of timed out the weeks in between, because you really have to understand, like, getting your body to that peak point, but then you also have to think about the after part and maintaining that if you're going to do more shows.
Right.
And even people in the gym, they're like, you look like you're going to step on stage tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm not. And they're like, well, aren't shows going on? And I was like, there is a time and a place for you to put yourself, but as a competitor, you have to understand that too.
Right. Yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
You should, exactly.
I think there's like a fear of missing out. People go into a season thinking this could be my year, and if I don't, if I don't take that leap, I might miss my window of being a champion, winning whatever show. Whereas really giving yourself that break to make the improvements would probably give you a better shot the following season.
Right.
Yeah.
I know some people get caught up in, oh, well, I want the judges to see me over and over. And it's like, okay, but, you don't know who's going to show up either.
Yeah.
And, just because they see you over and over again, if somebody's better than you, you're not.
And then they, like, nitpick. It's like, oh, well, these are the pictures from the 2012 Hercules. If I would have been there at that show, I would have won. You know what I'm saying?
But it's not.
I think that's a myth. I think that's a huge myth that people have, that the more the judges see me, the more I'm going to get rewarded with my placements.
Right.
And maybe outside of the natural circles, that's how that's done. But I know, during my time with the WNBF and my time during the DFAC, nobody has ever been rewarded for just participating.
Right.
Yeah.
You get rewarded for what you bring to the stage.
No, I definitely agree with that. And in some of the other orgs, the unnatural, I can see they say like, oh, I gotta be seen, I gotta be in front of these people. With the natural orgs, it's really not like that. And then when people are competing too much, or they don't have that balance, and they are competing too much, what starts to happen? It's like they're in this calorie deficit for so long, and then it's just like the starvation. If the coach or the competitor, the coach or the competitor really doesn't know what they're doing, there's too much cardio, and you start adding in other things like drastic dehydration, stuff like that. Certain people genetically are at the end are going to be lower calorie, lower carb, and have more cardio. But the key is like, you have to balance it. You have to take it in waves. You can't start an 18-week prep on 50 carbs a day and an hour of cardio every day. Like, that's how you may end up at that. But it needs to be at the very end. It's got to come together at just the right time. And if you're just doing all these shows all the time, if you have a season like people say, oh, I want to do October, November, but there's also an August show. It's like, okay, so an August show, mid-August. So for mid-August, you have to already been dieting for at least 4 months if you want to be in good shape and take it slow. Okay, you get ready for August, and then from August, mid-August down to October, that's what are we doing in between here? You know what I'm saying?
Like, for me, last year we knew what the end game was and what we wanted to achieve, and then we wanted to go to the DFAC show, and I kind of had that in mind. And you said to me, if we make it, we make it. We're not gonna go crazy trying to make it to the show if we're gonna miss out on the end game. Yeah, you have to focus. You have to pick your battles, and I see it a lot, like the starvation, the too much cardio, and then these drastic dehydrations. I've seen nightmares at some of these shows where people are ready to pass out, they're cramping, and this and that, they haven't drank water in 2 days, and I'm like, what is happening here? Like.
Then I think there's also the redemption process of somebody doesn't do well in a show, and they immediately want to try to redeem themselves, so they're going to jump into another show until they can get a better placement and feel that poor showing or subpar showing has been avenged.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's important too that you have a coaching team behind you and a coach that understands you, because in my case last year we planned out my shows, and by the second show it didn't go very well, and I looked at Ryan and I said, what do you want to do? Like, where I am, how I'm going to react. And he said, let's do this next show, and we added a show to my schedule. And I wouldn't have done that on my own unless he was fully confident and knew that I was going to be able to physically, again, ride out that longer competing season to handle it. And then by the end of my season, I was like so far ahead that my metabolism had changed, and we were trying to continually feed me.
Put more food in.
So I think not only is it you as a competitor knowing and understanding what you're getting yourself into, is if you have a coach, you need to have a coach that also understands logically what you're capable of.
You need someone level-headed behind you to guide you
and approach it correctly,
and that puts their competitors first as opposed to putting themselves first. Because I've also seen that too, where unfortunately we're in an industry right now where you've seen the coaching aspect of it has just blown up. Now everybody's a coach, and it's not everybody is a really good coach, and people will put their blind faith in somebody that maybe doesn't have their best interests in mind. It's more about their own either pocketbook or their own reputation or their own agenda. So again, getting back to what I was saying in the intro, Ryan's one of the few people that I really look up to as a coach, because he does put his team first.
I just had to deal with this recently. I'm not going to say the person's name. I just had to deal with this recently. Some lady, hard worker, signed up with me, and you know, her calories are, she came to me and her calories are like already in the tank, and I'm like, there's not much more for me to go. Like, you know, something's off here. You need to actually reevaluate and move in a different direction, get this body back to normal, start to build up your metabolism. And it's like, I'm trying to do that, and if the scale goes up by 0.75, it's like a meltdown. And I have the email, like, straight out told, I said, listen, like, we got to reevaluate this in terms of us working together, because I can easily have your money, and I don't care about that. Like, I can just sit here and bullshit you, and, oh, we'll be fine. Okay, we'll cut calories. I'm telling you the harder path because it's the right path. I want to do things the right way, because I don't want to be that person who pushes you even further into the shitter, you know? So I was like, I can walk away from your money right now. It's not about the wallet to me. Like, you got to do this the right way, and something is obviously wrong. And again, it's unrealistic expectations. The coaching that she came from, wherever it was, obviously something's off. You know, for this person to admit, like, yeah, I know my metabolism's screwed up and hormones out of whack. It's like, so if you know that, why would you want me to continue on that path? Yeah. You know, and it's, again, you know, people have to have realistic expectations. If you're backlogged like that and you're screwed, you have to reevaluate and be like, damn, like, I may not be getting on stage, or this may take a little while longer. Like, you have to have more realistic expectations, the competitor and the coach, because if someone's blowing smoke, in the end, the smoke screen goes away and you're left with reality. Yes. And in the end, time moves like this for me. So it's like, I'm not going to put myself in a position where the smoke is gone and here's reality. It's here. Like, and now I have to deal with it. You know, so I don't know. I just see it a lot with a lot of coaches and a lot of competitors. It's like, yeah, I want to get ready for this show. I got 12 weeks. I'm like, you know, I don't really like having 12 weeks. You're new. I don't know you from a fucking hole in the wall. I don't know what you've done, where you came from. They send me pictures, and I'm like, wow, you're 26 weeks out. And you want to get this done in 12. Let's see how this goes. And I tell them, nope. They go do a show. I tell them, like, you need to not do a show. You need to really, like, push the finish line a little further and really do this right. You know, and then I don't hear from them. Then they come back, they did the show, they didn't look good, and now you wasted that time. You followed through with the diet I told you not to follow through with, okay?
And now we're another 12 weeks behind.
Yes. We're behind again. You know what I'm saying? Now we're behind again. And it's just, you know, sometimes you know, by telling the truth and being straight with people, they go to the person who's just going to be like, no, we got this. Yeah, you'll be fine. Blah, blah, blah. We'll get you on stage. We got this, girl. It's like, oh, okay.
That leads into, like, the coach hopping. You know, some people just want to go to the person that's going to tell them what they want to hear.
Yep.
You know, and, you know, they might blame, I mean, sure, their coach might have sucked, but, you know, they might have just not been happy with their result, and it could have been their own doing, or they didn't like what they heard from them, and they're just going to go to the next person who's going to pat them on the back, tell them, oh, you have great potential, you're a great athlete, even if that coach knows, like, you know.
And I think that ties into both coach hopping, unrealistic expectations, and then what you had mentioned about coaches just doing it for themselves, and, you know, everybody's becoming a coach. I think a lot of that also has to do with the social media aspect of it, is people on social media, you know, at least for me, what I saw at the beginning of this year is, 2018 is not the year to compete. 2018 is the year to take the year off, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to take an off season. And so everybody started following that trend. And then
balance, the gaining weight is cool, like, all of that.
It's all of these things come together, and for people who, you know, competing's as much as getting on stage and having a coaching season, but you also have to evaluate it for yourself. And you have to see, like, why am I doing this? Forget everybody else, because at the end of the day, what you get on stage with and what you present is how you ultimately see the whole process. So if you start comparing yourself to people on Instagram, you're like, oh, well, so-and-so said she's going to take an off season, but then this person, you know, she's going to step on stage too. Like, sure, I'm 12 weeks away. I can totally do this. Yeah. And it all just kind of gets jumbled in everybody's head. And then, again, you wind up on stage, you're not happy, you start pointing fingers.
And then you're behind.
And then you're back where you started.
You have to fix it.
You know, and I think, I mean, there's good and bad with everything. I mean, there's good coaches, there's bad coaches, there's the good aspect of social media, there's the bad aspect of social media. one of the things that I've heard is, an athlete doesn't do well, and rather than coach saying like, look, you looked good on stage, that was our goal, and it's just going to take some time. It's, the judges screwed you over. It's politics. I don't know what they were looking at. We'll find a federation that appreciates your physique. And that's not to say that certain, I've looked at decisions and said, yeah, I don't really see it that way, that there's not bad decisions. But I've also seen coaches use that as an excuse just because they didn't get their athlete ready. Or their athlete was, kind of fighting above their weight class.
Yeah.
And, now the athlete has in head that, okay, well, this is the coach for me. He's pointing out that I got screwed by the judging, or I got screwed by the organization, and there's that blind loyalty again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then we're talking about coach hopping. There's the coach hopping. What I've now realized is there's the coach hopping where people are just not doing things right and just going from coach to coach to coach, and it's just probably not following anything that either coaches are saying, and it just becomes a mess of shit. Like, I don't want people like that, to be honest with you. But then there's also the people who coach hop because they're riding coattails. I've had this happen. This happened last year. Okay, a girl who thought that she was better than what she was, thought that just because, she had a certain look with her old coach, but saw that we won 3 world titles in one night, that we were the Ferrari, and she was going to throw money at the wall,
and it would be guaranteed,
and everything would be guaranteed. And it's like, no, you're still getting beat by other people on our team. Like, other people on our team are beating you. So it's like people just, well, they win, and that's the in team to be with. I'm going to go with that. I want you to come here because you respect our work ethic and our fucking smash mouth attitude, and that we always go for more. I don't want you coming because it's like, it's you know what I'm saying, like a status symbol type thing. Yeah. I don't want to say I'm putting myself on that pedestal, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna come to this team, I want you to be drawn to this team because of my work ethic, the team's work ethic, that different attitude that we have and what we bring to the shows. I want you coming here for that, not just because, I saw them and they win and I want to be able to say I'm on that team. I don't want that shit. Like, I just don't want that shit.
And I think, I only used a coach once when I was competing.
Dr. Joe.
Exactly. I used Dr. Joe in 2006.
Me too. 2006, yeah.
Wow, guys.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Wonder Twin Powers activated.
Yeah, 2006.
The connection is deeper than we thought.
After all these years, and you never told me.
2006.
And I picked Dr. Joe again because I'd sat back for a few years and I watched him work and I talked to a few people and Joe and I had a very friendly relationship, and it was definitely worth the investment. And I didn't win, I didn't come close to winning, didn't sniff of winning, but that was on me. I mean, there were just people that were better than me, and I think that's what people have to realize is, this is a sport. It's if you're really engaged in a sport, there's going to be people that are going to place ahead of you. There's going to be people that maybe you place ahead of. There's going to be, that really close, neck and neck where it could have gone either way. But there's no participation medals. It's not like, I didn't think that because I was part of Team K that I was going to get any sort of preferential treatment. And my placement definitely reflected that. But again, he got me into the best shape. He definitely guided me through a 22-week process. It was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. But I had no expectations of saying that, okay, well, now that I'm a part of this team, I'm going to go in there and I'm automatically going to bump up 6 or 7 places.
And I think back on your note of it's a sport. It's also a subjective sport.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you show up, you don't know who's going to be on stage with you. You don't know who's on that judging panel. You don't know what that judging panel is looking for. And it could be...
You don't know the average IQ of the judging panel.
Exactly. There's so many factors.
My scores that year were, I got as high as a 6th place, which I totally agree with. And I got as low as like a 14th place, which... But averaging out, throwing out the highs and lows, I finished pretty much where, if I looked at it, like, I can see where I finished that way. But I think that, you get, again, to your point, there's bad judges out there. There's just, people that don't necessarily belong on a judging panel because they're not following the criteria.
Well, they don't have the mental capacity. I don't mean to belittle people, but look, I know certain people that I know for certain cannot walk and chew gum. Now you put them in a situation. Time is a stress. There's lights, there's music, there's multiple subjects moving at a fast rate. You have to write things down, and you're judging all this stuff. What?
Just got to sharpen their crayons and strap their helmets on.
It worries me. You know what I'm saying? It does worry me. Not that I think that everyone is stupid or whatever, but I know, and I've seen certain people that I've had conversations with, and I'm like, how does your brain work? And then they're a judge, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Everyone's in trouble, not just me.
I've judged for 18 years, and for the most part, I think I have a decent reputation of being a fair judge. I take it seriously. Mm-hmm. But there's also been times where I think that if I felt I've been off, I've gone to the tabulator and say, throw my scores out. For whatever reason, I don't think that I got a good look at that class, or I just felt like maybe I didn't give everybody 100% of what I should have. I just, and that's me. I mean, and I think that's only happened maybe 2 or 3 times in that 18 years. But I've also realized that you're really you have a lot of power to screw somebody over.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be
so. If you don't take it seriously,
it doesn't even have to be blatant. It's like with the rounds, I've learned it's all numbers. Where it's just you don't have to say if someone's 2, you don't have to put them as 8. But if you give them a 4. It's just it gets a little worrisome, but it is what it is. Hopefully, there's more people who are good than bad, and it's just a little frustrating sometimes where I go into a show and I look at the panel and I'm like, we are going to have one of those days. I say it right at the beginning. I go, look, and I'm like, yep, and then it happens that way. I always leave those shows like, what the fuck?
I'm disappointed. I knew it was going to happen, but it actually did
happen.
It
happened, and it is what it is. But talking about the judges, what do you think about how often do you see the judges trying to poach competitors? And
I won't stand for that. I've had...
There are people with that reputation, though.
There are people with that reputation.
Hey, I would have did this a little better. Email me and I'll give you my feedback, and then it's just
you weren't hard enough. Here's my card.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen that, and it's disgusting. It really is, because now you've got a credibility issue. Is that person looking at up on stage and saying, well, if I knock them down a couple of places, then I can present them with the,
create the problem, create the solution.
Exactly. So, that's why it's, and again, it's a small community. You can create conspiracy theories left and right in here, as people do on social media.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do think that, and I've seen it where it's somebody will take that opportunity to really damage the credibility of the judging panel, the organization, the promoter, whatever, because they see an opportunity to gain another competitor.
Yeah.
And it just shouldn't be.
Yeah, and then even too, I've always said, sometimes the coaches as judges. I'm not talking about oh, hey, I'm a coach, I have a couple of people that I just love the sport, fine, whatever. I'm talking about the people who go and market themselves as a high-powered team. I have this team, okay, and boom, boom, and this is what my focus is. This is my gig. And then you end up on a judging panel. And I've always said I've had a problem with that. And the answer to me has always been, oh, well, they come off, they don't judge their own people. That's only 50% of the problem.
Right.
I don't care about them judging their own people. That's obvious they shouldn't be doing. But people still sneak. They try to hide that they prep a competitor. I see that too. They try to hide that that's their person just so they can judge them. But whatever. That, to me, has always been 50% of the battle. If you are Team X and I am Team Y, and let's say that you're ahead of me. I'm chasing you. You got the Juggernaut team, and I'm in that second.
I've got the X-Men.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm chasing you. Okay. Now I'm a judge. Okay, fine. I'm not judging my people, but guess what? I'm judging yours. I'm judging yours. We are we're locked into our positions. Our wallets are tied to this. And now I look at your person, it's like, 2, 4. You know, it's like I fear sometimes that these people are judging other other teams' peoples. You know what I'm saying? So it gets ugly.
And it also, since it's like such a monster, we learned that it's the game of averages. They don't even have to be obvious about it and give the person 6th place. They could just knock them down one point, and that can throw everything off.
And it's always worried me, you know.
And I've seen personal beefs too. I mean, you get. It is a fairly small community. Everybody knows each other. So, I mean, you've got people that are friends. You have people that don't necessarily get along. And, you know, if your friend is up on stage, are you going to throw them a bone? Or is somebody that you don't get along with up on stage? Or are you going to kind of, knock them down a little bit? There was an incident in, I want to say it was Kansas City years ago, where one of the figure competitors had gotten 1s and 2s all across the panel, and then got, I believe, a 17th.
See, that's crazy.
This was, they weren't doing the, normally you would do cut it off at 8, everybody gets 8, but they actually made it out. It was a very, very large class. And, even back when they're tabulating, they're like, are you kind of sure? And guys, just don't like her physique. I heard the story, I saw the scores, and I was just like, wow, that is personal right there. And that's not a case of, forgetting to wear your glasses while you're on the judging panel. That is something that was personal, and there was like an underlying beef.
So how do people avoid these negatives? Like how? It's like
you can throw the scores out with something like that.
I'm saying is, as someone getting involved in the sport, like how do you avoid all the ugly shit that we're talking about? How do we
perspective
avoid it?
You really need to keep this is a hobby. This is fun. This is something that you put your heart into it, and you invest your time and your money, and you want that reward. But at the end of the day, you got to remember that I think you are so much more than just a competitor. I mean, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, mother, father, whatever. There's so much outside of the realm of competing that puts it in perspective. But I think that one of the darker side of things is people become so wrapped up in being the competitor that becomes their identity.
Yes, that's what Dr. Joe told me one of the times. He said, I said, how do you balance? I asked him, how do you balance it? 'Cause I was going down the rabbit hole, and he says, you got to remember, you can't be defined as being a competitor.
So much more. I mean, it's just, I go home to my wife and my kids, and I mean that's the important stuff in my life. When I go to shows and everything, that's just a portion of it. And if things don't go well at a show, or competitor gets mad at me, or whatever, you gotta kind of shake it off and just go home to what's really important.
It's difficult. It's difficult because I can't speak as a competitor anymore, but as a coach, like I'm super competitive.
But that's your personality.
I know, but it gets me in it's a gift and a curse.
Right.
I am super. If this sport, if you could play defense in this sport, if it was my will against someone else's, I'd be your reigning champion. And I'm so competitive, and there's consequences to that. Like there's not sleeping sometimes. There's putting too much work in. There's being stressed way too much. I've tasted the wins. It started in 2012 and 13, and it was like wow, and it keeps going and going, and it's just building and building. And sometimes I don't know how to separate, because obviously I have a lot more to me than being a coach. Like I feel like I'm pretty well rounded, and I'm into like a lot of cool like weird shit, and like I'm pretty smart. Like I'm pretty smart outside of just the fitness thing. Sure. Like I know international relations, global politics, all that stuff. I can tell you anything about like nuclear missiles, all that shit. Like I'm pretty well rounded.
Iranian money.
Yeah, I have all that, but I get caught in a position where I get too competitive sometimes, and there are times I've lost. I wouldn't call them friendships, because I throw that word friend, but around a lot more lightly than most people do. But I've lost some acquaintances because I am too competitive, and you're a coach now. So that means you're against me. You're either with me or against me, and it's a poison. You know, I've lost people, not competitors, but I've lost people I used to be friendly with, and now I'm in a position now where obviously I'm not stopping, but it's, you know, if I win, people have something to say. If I lose, people have something to say, and I feel like I may have dug my own. I feel like I put myself in this position, but again, that also got me to where I'm at. So
we've talked about this. The higher that you climb, you know, even in this sport, whether you're a competitor or a coach or whatever, the more stones are going to be thrown at you.
And it's ugly.
You know, and it's a no-win situation. It's, you know, if you know, and I've talked to you know, other competitors about it, where, you know, they're kind of disenchanted because they've actually done so well that people will, you know, people will make accusations. You know, they're winning because of politics, or they must be on drugs, or
which I've heard.
You know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And by the same token, you know, me
and Nancy were not always friends. Like, like I used to go at her hard, and now people talking about politics. It's like that lady probably could not stand me at one point, and I was like, you know what, I need to just back off a little bit and calm down. Like,
I think that there's a difference between being competitive and being an asshole.
I can have a little bit of both, though, and that's
when
the
you
ugly.
need to.
It's the ugly side of this.
But this is, you know, being competitive and being a competitive asshole, I guess you could call it. You know, means that you really think that you're right. I've had people that have had meltdowns on stage. I've seen people throw trophies backstage. I've seen people walk up to the urine collection site and berate other competitors, saying you didn't deserve to win. And then afterwards they'll say, I'm just being competitive. No, you're being an asshole.
Yeah.
That's being an asshole. Being competitive and just wanting a level playing field and everything to go right, and maybe you butt heads because of that. To me, that's being competitive, and maybe it's bordering on that, you know, assholedom. Is that the term?
Yes.
You
It's
know.
a new tough table word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You know, I get that, and I don't mind that. I mean, that's the competitive mindset, and anybody that has ever accomplished anything has had some sort of an ego. It's just that when you let that ego run wild and you think that every time you don't do as well as you had hoped, you got screwed over somehow.
Yeah.
Now you're kind of being an asshole.
Yeah. Well, my issue just becomes like, I feel like you always have to win. I always have to win, and it's
Ultimately,
that's the negative that I took from this sport. It's like, you know, back in the day, going to the shows with Cody, you know, no bells and whistles. It's like we were having fun. Now it's like,
Well, that's the difference.
Yeah,
You've gone from being fun and a hobby
And
and
now
things
it's
that
like-
people want to do, and then it's like, oh wait, Team SUF, they keep winning. Something's got to be wrong.
yeah. But I still feel the pressure to always keep winning.
Yeah.
That's the ugly I'm taking from
You
this.
can't
I'm
worry
telling you,
about
I'm
everybody else, though.
but the ugly part of this is it's, you know, it's coming now.
And it's like I tell
It's
him,
not just from the competitor standpoint. I'm talking from a coach's standpoint. Like, there is that ugly side that takes over.
Everybody says it's not about winning until they win.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of it, because I've seen that, you know, throughout the sport, where it's just like, you know, I'm just happy to be here. You know, it's the journey, it's this, it's that, which is great. I mean, and there are some people that sincerely believe that. But as soon as, you know, you start to see, you know, the pro cards start to accumulate and the wins, all of a sudden now it's all those posts about the journey now become, yep, we won again. You know, now
I'm guilty.
We're on a roll. You know, and I think that is, you know, that's part of the transition right there. That's the, you know, you got a taste of winning, and you know, you're always trying to move forward. Nobody wants to move back. Nobody goes, you know, yep, I won, going for second place next time.
Yeah.
Nobody
and
says that.
I was talking to you about that the other day, about, you know, like, what's our move this season? What do we do? You know, I feel like there's like a pressure now because it's like, well, if I want to do this show, but I also have an end game in mind, do I even do this show because I know I can't beat 100% from A to B, and I know I don't want to.
Yeah, and you're
I
a
don't want to
defending world
lose at
champion.
A.
Yeah, you're a defending world champion.
It's like now
Yeah.
I feel like
It's a pressure.
Yeah.
And then like there's that pressure. Then put yourself in my shoes. We've won with 2013, 2014, 2015. Let's bring up the Hercules. We've won the overall at that show 3 years in a row. Look how hard it is to win overall bodybuilding at the Herc 3 years in a row. And then we won again last year. And then it's just like, if you don't win, it's like, oh, well, we beat Team SUF. It's like, damn, like,
I don't think there's
damn.
You've got a target on your back.
And it's just like, all I want to do is just go in, do the work. If we win, like, I'm trying to win, but it's just like, it does become a pressure at every show, everywhere. This show, and the Herc, and then this show, and then Naturalmania, and then Worlds. It's like, what if we don't win a world title this year? Are we done? Are people going to stop coming to the doors?
But again, it's not you. It's everybody else that's creating that outside pressure. But yeah, it is very difficult to kind of isolate yourself when you have like darts being thrown at you from every direction, because you have built such a powerful and strong...
I can handle it, but it's a negative.
Exactly.
If we're talking about the negative, ugly
Right.
side, I can handle it. I can handle much more. But it's still a negative and an ugly... it's like, I know that not many people can handle what I'm having to be thrown at me on a daily basis.
Competitive-wise, I mean, Fred Domena gave me a piece of advice years ago. And Fred was a great guy that was involved with WMBF for years and always gave his opinions freely. And I asked him, I said, realistically, where do I fall? He goes, I can think of 25 guys on your best day that you couldn't beat. All right, well, so far we're only with a positive 10. He goes, but I could also think of another 25 that on their best day might not be able to beat you. Now, notice we said you couldn't beat to might not be able to beat.
Yeah.
So I'm still down there. He goes, it really all depends on which 25 show up. So I think that, if you really want to know where you stand in the world, and again, I was competitive. And that's my nature, of always trying to see like, how much further I can go. I always pick like the worlds to compete in, because if you're going to stand up on stage, you want to stand up on stage with the best. I'm actually going someplace with this. And I remember Charlie Carolla, another guy that ton of respect for, that was, instrumental in, my being involved in this, saying, why don't you pick one of the smaller shows, and that way you're not like down at the back. It's like, well, and if you're going to take a smaller show, you're not really seeing where you stand in the world. And I've seen that with people where they go into a small show, a small pro show. Maybe there's like one or two other competitors. They go and they win a championship, and they're advertising themselves as like, the world champion, the universe champion, the whatever champion. But they're not standing on the biggest stages. They're not necessarily, going against the very best. And I think that to me is more or less just picking the title,
Yes.
as opposed to making the decision to get on the big stage and see where you really stand.
Yeah, which we see a lot. We see a lot of people like, it's something that drives me nuts. Like,
Monster Classic.
Yep, we'll work hard for a title or a championship, and we'll go to that big show. And I know what I had to do to sacrifice, and what the athlete had to do, because I run these people, and like, I work them. If they're working hard, it's like this, and I will work these people, and then we accomplish it, and it's like, yes. And then you see someone who did nothing and did the Cocky Monster Classic on Sunrise Highway, and they win that world title, and it's just like, wait a second, you're advertising the same thing we just did, but you beat two people, and we stood on what we thought was the best stage that we can be on, and beat a lot of people. Like, and then it's just I feel like giving up sometimes.
I just have to let it roll off your back.
It's like, oh, and then if you say, oh, well, you're a champion, but you beat two people, now you're hating.
Right.
And it's just like, so it's
Instead
like,
of
okay, I
pointing
guess
out
everyone's a champion.
It's and unfortunately, again, you see this in all sports. There's world record holders in powerlifting in XYZ federation that doesn't come close to the world record of, you know, ABC federation,
Right.
but they're both world record holders. You know, and you know, you see, you know, bodybuilders, figure competitors, bikini competitors, fit body competitors. You know, I don't know how many different divisions do we have now that are all advertising world champions. You know, and some of the shows are, you know, 12, 15 athletes deep, and some of them are, you know, just a handful of local people.
How can you present yourself? You know, it's just another thing, that false advertising. That's something that like can be a real negative, where it's like, oh, you're a bikini world champion, but then you look at the context, it's like,
Exactly.
oh, wait, hold on, you beat one other person. So what? How are you bikini world champion? But again, like if new people coming into the industry, you go and you look and someone's marketing themselves as world champion or this and that. It's like,
sounds
Their-
impressive.
it's
The
oh
word sounds a
great,
lot better.
you know. So it's like you got to do that research and maybe look a layer deeper.
But
like,
again, that's the thing. The competitor themselves has to do the research. They have to learn, and they have to be honest with themselves as to what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a big negative. Is forget the whole side of competing. If you as a competitor can't be honest with yourself from the get-go,
You're
then
in trouble.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
No one can help you there.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Because
that's
you're
true.
just going to look at it and be like, oh, well, she did it. Or you had touched on the point earlier that, you know, people look at this as a weight loss journey. And, you know, everybody's making a show an end destination. And
Right.
yeah, that's great that you're choosing your health first and you want to get yourself up on stage. But then after that, you know, it's off season and you wind up gaining another 20 pounds. But that's on the competitor because, you know, they just did it for the competition themselves. But back on the coach's side, now the coach is left with someone who put in some work, but now they're 20 steps back because they weren't honest with themselves as to why they wanted to compete or what this meant to them from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely murkies the water of
Yeah.
that competition versus participation medal,
Right.
Yeah.
you know?
Anything else? You're good?
Yep.
Good?
Good.
All right. All right, so topic one, good. Went a little over, but I think it's good. Next, we are going to roll into, I think this is my second edition of the Coach's Corner, where I will be talking about the importance of posing and presentation on show day. You can have the best physique in the world, but if you show up on stage and you present yourself like shit, you're not going to win. So here we go. Welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner. Today I wanted to talk about an aspect of competing that is so difficult, but is so easily overlooked, and that is posing and presentation. When people are going through a prep, the main things that they're going to focus on right out of the gates is going to be obviously the training and the nutrition, especially if they're starting really early. They're in the preseason, off-season, and they're building up to a show. You know, a lot of people are not going to practice posing in the deep off-season, even the beginning of the preseason, because you see less in the mirror. It's not as motivating. It's very hard to make certain mental connections with your muscles because you're not seeing everything because the body fat is still there. But regardless, I feel people should, in the off-season, just stay into a good routine with posing. Obviously not as crazy and hardcore as if they were competing, but that what's going to happen is you never get too rusty, and it helps with the endurance part. So everyone knows the feeling of prep. You know, you're going, and you know the macros are getting lower. You're doing more and more cardio. Certain things in your personal life take a hit, and you become very fine. You know, very fine-tuned into the show. Adding in this whole nother aspect of posing, it's difficult to start. But once you start, you break the ice, you get going, and you work on it week to week, that's going to be your best approach. Because the worst thing is to have a great physique, show up show day, display it poorly, and not win or lose a placing, 2 or even 3 placings just because, you know, you're gassed, you run out of air, you know, no endurance, or you're just really, really not displaying yourself well. posing is key. It's going to be key. I can't tell you the amount of competitors that I've had. I see their photos, especially females, legs. All right, so it's like, I see the photos. I'm like, all right, you got to be a little leaner in the legs. But do you have to be leaner in the legs, or are you not making proper activation? So again, when they come here, we do some of the posing videos. That's when I start to realize, like, okay, yeah, we have a pinch more to lose, but this is not all conditioning. This is like mental activation. So posing, again, if you don't know how to pose and you don't know how to trace back to your quads or hit your hamstrings or your glutes, you're never going to be able to display that muscle, which means you're never going to be 100% on stage, which means that you're going to be chasing a ghost when it comes to your prep. Oh, I got to get leaner, I got to get leaner, I got to get leaner. Do you, or do you have to work on your activations? Now, besides those activations, there are other things that go into posing, not just hitting those poses that you're required to hit. It's the finesse, it's the poise, it's the transitions, it's how you're able to transition from pose to pose, especially in classes like bikini, men's physique, where there's a lot more. You could be a lot more fluid on stage. There's a lot more movement. Things like figure, you got to get right into the pose, and that's it. So you got to really hone in on those poses. But to set yourself, aside from the other competitors, your transitions, how you present yourself. Is there a smile on your face at all times? Is it looking effortless, or are you shaking up there because you didn't work on your endurance? When it comes to things like fit body and stuff like that, you have extra poses, bodybuilding, of course, as well. But with those classes, you have different poses to highlight your strengths and really guard against those weaknesses. But again, you have to really practice with those. Like, do I look better this way? Do I twist this? Do I twist that? How do I activate my quads more? It's a long process that I feel like a lot of people are ignoring until the last minute, and they go on stage, and there's going to be someone who shows up and they're ready to go. To make things even more difficult, there's also, the tanning aspect. You want to apply the right tan the day of the show, whether it's guy or girl. You don't want something that's going to run, or you want to make sure you're not too light, you're not too dark, and stuff like that. There's a lot of balance when it comes to that stuff. Yes, that's not just that's not your posing, but that is all grouped into your presentation and how you look and present yourself on stage. Like, it's even more difficult with some of the female classes where, hair, the makeup, the beauty round, stuff like that. You got to make sure that this stuff is on point. You can have the greatest physique in the world. You show up on show day and you're shaking and you're posing really awkward, and your tan is off, makeup's fucked up. You're going to get yourself in trouble. And then on top of that, you have suits, suit color, suit fit, things like that. Like, yes, if you're a shit competitor and you didn't put the work in, but you throw $1,600 at the top suit designer out there, that's not going to save you. But if you're polished and your posing's on point, you come in conditioned, everything looks effortless, hair and makeup's on point, and boom, now you got the suit. It's like, oh, this looks like a pro. This looks like a champion. It's all about that. It's not just lifting. It's not just the nutrition. There's this other aspect. And when I first got involved with bodybuilding, I was told, oh, posing will be the hardest thing. And I was like, yeah, okay, fucking, that's funny. And then I soon learned 3 weeks out from the show, like, okay, I'm in trouble. Like, this is an aspect that I totally neglected, and I'm in trouble. So as a coach, I know to start hammering this out, early with some of these competitors. In conclusion, posing, presentation, stuff like that, it doesn't matter how great your physique is. If you do not put in the work with that other part of competing, it's going to catch up to you. So, your best bet is to obviously join Team SUF and get our services. But, if you're not, or if you're looking into competing for the first time and you're not with Team SUF, you really should make sure you get someone reputable to help you out, or else it's going to be a long show day. Okay, so I hope that was useful and helpful. Now we're going to roll into our next segment, which is going to be Tough Table Trivia. All right, here we go. So question number 1. Which movie holds the record for biggest domestic opening weekend at the box office? A, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. B, Black Panther. C, Avengers: Infinity War. Or D, Jurassic World.
I'm going to need to borrow a new marker.
Okay, ready? Hold them up. Rich, what do you got? C.
Oh my goodness.
C.
I'm so bad.
Taniya.
I forgot that
Taniya. Okay, so everyone there gets a point except for T.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Boom! The answer is C. Avengers: Infinity War, biggest domestic open. Question 2. Which movie holds the record for biggest global opening weekend at the box office? A. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. B. The Fate of the Furious. C. Avengers: Infinity War. Or D. The Justice League.
Oh goodness.
Here we go. We're ready? Walk them down. Walk them down. Walk them down. Here we go. Rich, what do we got? We have C. A.
I'm nervous.
And A. The answer is C. Avengers: Infinity War. So point for Rich and Shauna.
I got 0 over here.
We got the losers half of the table.
Okay, yeah, Avengers.
I like this game.
Yeah, I thought that those would be two easy ones. Come on, it's Avengers: Infinity War.
There's a bunch
Which,
of
speaking
Avengers
of,
everywhere.
Would not be complete
without my gauntlet. Yes. I wonder if I can hold this. For one question, I have to do this. Okay. Question 3. Which of the following digestive enzymes are responsible for breaking down carbohydrates? A. Lactase. B. Amylase. C. Lipase. Or D. Protease. Write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down. See if I can do this with the gauntlet. Probably going to drop the camera and break it. Have to buy a new one. And here we go. And what do we got? We have B.
I'm the loser on this one.
We have D and B, and the answer is B. Okay, so everyone gets a wait. Who gets a point there?
Everyone but Sarah.
Everyone.
Gotta work on that nutrition. It's okay.
Okay. Question 4. Which gland is primarily responsible for the production of insulin? A. Thyroid. B. Pituitary. C. Adrenals. Or D. The pancreas. This is actually not that bad. Ready? Get them up. Get them up. Get them up. Get them up. And what do we got, Rich? D.
Yeah. Girl over here is
and
bad.
D. And the answer is D. Everyone minus Sarah.
Sarah, did you have a donut hole right now?
Huh?
No, she got you got the first one right.
I got the first one right.
She got one.
I got one. Oh.
Got French fry.
Okay, I'll take a. That might be better now.
All right. On average, how many? Okay. Wait, where are we? Okay. As competitors, we always know concerned with muscle glycogen, especially on show day. On average, how many ounces of water are stored in 1 ounce of muscle glycogen? A. 1 ounce. B. 4 ounces. C. 8 ounces. Or D. 12 ounces.
Hold on, I need to read the question again.
On average, how many ounces of water are stored in 1 ounce of muscle glycogen? It's a difficult one. Ready?
I'm gonna go with my first answer.
B. What the hell is that?
I wrote it small because I wasn't confident.
B. And B. And the answer is B.
Oh, I'm back.
Wow.
Nice.
100% for Rich.
Rich, really? Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Okay.
He's been in the industry and he knows his comic book movies.
I thought the first 2 would be a given.
I mean,
I got thrown
they
off
are all
by
around
the
the
second
room. I am wearing a shirt that says it.
Difficult one. Which of the following is used to measure the ability of food proteins to deposit nitrogen into muscles? Which of the following is used to measure the ability of food proteins to deposit nitrogen into muscles? A. Net protein utilization. B. Protein efficiency ratio. C. Biological value. Or D. The glycemic index. This is a difficult one. I did not know this one offhand.
I thought you were saying I did not write this one.
Ready? Hold them up.
Okay.
A, B, A, and B, and the answer is C. Biological value. And I'm losing the feeling in my fingers holding this. Okay. One with.
That's the noise that Jake makes.
Yeah, basically. And the last one, I believe. Which hormone plays a central role in the regulation of blood pressure and the water sodium dynamic in the body. Another thing as natural competitors we are worried about. A, aldosterone, B, estrogen, C, cortisol, or D, prolactin. Are we ready? Boom. Yes, this is a Dr. Joe guy. You better know that. There we go. Good. A. And everyone except for T. So back on, you're on the Sara bandwagon.
That's all right.
So the answer is A.
Don't worry, girl.
Okay, good. Tough Table Trivia is done. The winner of Tough Table Trivia and the Summon at this table, the combined points tally, will win this beautiful blue raspberry pre for NutriBio. So we thank NutriBio for always providing that and helping us out. Tough Table Trivia is in the books, and now we want to go to our next segment, our ray of sunshine, Cody Wyer with another Coming Up Wire.
Oh, shit.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Everything is Coming Up Wire. I am the aforementioned Wire, here to discuss with you this week people that like to sell products online that they know to be a multi-level marketing scheme. Typically, these people will be people that you went to high school with, probably with multiple children who stay at home and think they have their own business. This clearly is not the case, and while I will not name any specific programs or brands or what have you, you can understand that they involve special teas or belly wraps or who the fuck knows. I really don't care. But the problem I have with it is typically these people will go to their circle of friends first to be their customers. So what you're essentially doing is lying to those closest to you to make a dollar. Typically, the people that sell these things, whether it's weight loss supplements or beauty products or anything of that nature, are probably fat and ugly. So these products really can't be sold by them because they're not the ones benefiting from the products themselves, you could say. I just don't get it. Yeah, I don't get how people can have such a lack of integrity and just stupidity. The sad fact is they probably actually do sell some of these products, so their friends are actually idiots. I mean, why would you not do any research? How can you take it and actually think that it is doing something when you don't experience any kind of results whatsoever? And typically, people will blame themselves in the end because when they don't see results, they'll just think, well, I stopped using the product or I couldn't afford anymore before I could actually see the benefits. So really, I guess I have to wonder, who's at fault? Who am I really actually mad at? The person selling it or the consumer buying it? I don't know. I think it just speaks to the fact that our society as a whole is getting stupider and sadder. And everybody should take their own time to do their own research and find products that not only actually do work, but are probably significantly cheaper. For some reason, these products that aren't even name brands end up costing more than anything you could find online or in a store. I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be it. I'm going to continue asking myself why, and for now, bye.
As always, thank you, Cody. Now we're going to move into one of my favorite segments, is going to be questions from the audience.
Hello, people! This is your bleaching talking. Ask me a question.
All right. Question number one. This is for Rich from Cody. For Rich, having been involved in the industry as long as you have, what differences have you seen in the industry from when you started versus the present, and have they been predominantly negative or positive? Take it away.
I'd say it's probably been a little bit of both. Are we talking about the natural bodybuilding industry or the fitness industry?
Cody's probably talking about natural bodybuilding.
Okay, that's good, because that's a much shorter conversation. I think, you've seen expansion. You've seen, when I first started in this, it was the NGA, which fed into the WNBF. And that was pretty much it. I mean, there was the ANBC ran shows up in New England. You kind of had a handful of organizations, but there was some really solid, good competitors. Now you have a ton of different federations. You have a ton of different divisions too, and I kind of think that it complicates things from a logistics standpoint. You know, if you have competitors in different areas that want to go with different federations, or as a coach, you know, you try to be there for your team. You know, maybe somebody wants to do, you know, XYZ show over here, and in the same area you have, ABC over there, and you can't be two places at once.
I wish.
And also, you know, you also see kind of the watering down of the shows too. I mean, it's, you know, we've run into problems where we've you know, promoted shows in one area, and another show from another federation pops up, you know, 25, 30 miles away on the exact same day. And at the end of the day, it hurts the competitors, it hurts the audience turnout, it hurts the promoters, it just hurts everything. So while I think the growth of the sport has been very positive, I would like to see more, you know, respect between the federations for how they schedule the dates. Social media is another thing. You know, when I first started, we relied on magazines, you know, to get the contest results. So I mean, it's, you know, you have to wait.
And the message boards.
The message boards weren't even really around. I mean, this was like '99, so I mean, that was kind of really in the infancy. You know, back when they had dial-up.
When I first came in, it was the message boards.
So I mean, it's you would go to you know, you would go to the different message boards, and you can kind of get the updates and everything, and you know, that was the beginning of social media right there. You also got a lot of negativity. I mean, you got some honesty on there. I mean, you know, with again, working, you know, in the magazine industry for a little while. You never want to publish anything bad about, you know, things that happen at shows. Everything is great, everything is wonderful, and it's all sunshine and roses. When in reality, you know, there was a couple of train wrecks at the shows, and you know, somebody threw a trophy across the stage, and you know, there were those awkward moments. You know, and what social media has allowed is it's allowed more of that transparency and more of that honesty. Rather than the sterilized version that you know, we used to read in magazines. So I think in one sense that's good, because the truth gets out there of what, you know, what really happened. On the other hand, everybody has a truth. So
everyone's got a voice now.
Everybody's got a voice. Not everybody should be
allowed to have one.
Allowed to have one. You know, and I think that's also kind of, you know, it's been a turnoff to competitors, because, as I mentioned everything earlier. Everything has now become a conspiracy theory. And again, I've seen bad decisions. I've seen decisions I don't agree with. I've seen, you know, shows that, you know, I would have judged a different way or whatever. But by the same token, I've also seen more often than not, you know, somebody that will claim a conspiracy, and they're the only one in the room that really thinks that there was a conspiracy. They just kind of, you know, placed where they wanted to place. So I mean, it's there's the good and the bad. I think that you know, years ago, again, going back to like with magazines, you know, you were selected to be in the magazine, it was an honor.
I remember.
Supplement companies were very picky choosy about who was going to represent them.
Now there's so many supplement companies.
Now there's so many supplement companies, and you're getting people that are, you know, they're sponsored by 27 different supplement companies, and in reality, maybe it's like, hey, we'll give you a free T-shirt if you know, make 20 posts per day. That's not necessarily a sponsorship. You know, I've seen people that will post that they are nationally qualified. And they placed, you know, fourth out of fourth at a local show, which qualified them nationally, and you know, they kind of building their own legend. There are people in the sport that have earned their spot. You know, there's people that they've won world championships. They've, you know, been consistently in that top circle, and then you have other people that are creating these social media personas.
They're creating the legend.
They're creating the legend. They're legends in their own minds. And I think, the one thing I've always tried to be consistent with myself is I don't ever want to run into somebody and have them say, you're totally different than you are on social media.
Yeah.
Because I'll talk about the most random shit on social media, not just bodybuilding, like all over the place, because that's me. Whereas you have people that, they're talking about peace, love, and happiness, and you meet them in real life, and they're a-holes.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest thing is the social media, the expansion of all of the divisions, and the really the growth of natural bodybuilding, for better or for worse, in its own.
Do you feel like there's a much higher turnover rate now of competitors and more like bucket list people? Or is it about the same?
I kind of think so. I mean, there's times that I look at like some of the bigger shows in other organizations to see what their lineups are, and I don't know these people.
Right.
Whereas I think when I competed in the early 2000s, you consistently saw the same big names and stuff. And whether that's because of attrition, whether that's because those people have kind of retired or moved on. Every year it seems like there's somebody new that's moving into the top spot. So I don't necessarily know why there is that. Maybe people feel that rather than defending their title, they want to move in a different direction. I mean, it's competing it's a lot of energy. It's expensive. It's a lot of time and effort. And maybe people say, you know what, I won the world championship. It's time to put my energies elsewhere.
Yeah.
I also see there's other interests. I see people branching off into like CrossFit or Spartan races, or they want to try different things. Yeah, and it's whether or not it's like, okay, well I've done this in natural bodybuilding and now I want to move on to something else. You're also seeing people that they're using natural bodybuilding to kind of go as far as they think they're going, and then they're moving into the non-tested ranks.
Yeah.
So we're kind of seeing that.
All right, fair enough. Moving on to question 2, which is also for Rich. This is from TJ Lynch. For Rich, what was the best experiences you had in the INBF, WNBF, and what caused him to leave?
How long is this show? It was the best thing I can probably say is just the relationships that I made. I mean, I met some of my closest friends came out of the WNBF. I mean, the people that I started the DFAC with, Vicky McCann, Guy Addison, Mike Lepasky, I knew them from from the WNBF. I knew you from the WNBF.
Well, that's why everything got it was turmoil when we heard that you were being. I remember I was this big at that time, and we heard that you were taking over, and everyone was relieved. And then there was those couple of days where it was like, what's happening? And then the rumors were like, Rich is gone, and we're like, it's over, it's finished.
It was probably I love the sport. This kind of broke my heart a little bit. And the magazine Chelo Publishing was very closely tied with the WNBF, and the magazine industry has been on a steady decline really since the mid '80s. I mean, print media is just really dying out. The cost is astronomical to produce a magazine, and everything is online right now. So I decided in 2006 that I wanted to step back from competing. Some of my injuries were catching up to me, and I kind of felt that I was at that point where I wasn't necessarily going to get too much better. I mean, it's getting on stage with guys like Ben Tennyson and Clarence McGill and Brandon Greenwood and some great competitors. And they were always going to be better than me. I mean, those were the 25 people that Fred Demena had said you're never going to beat, and I felt comfortable with that decision. So I still wanted to be involved in the sport. I still wanted to give back. I still wanted to try to make things better. I've always believed that if you're going to get involved in something, you always leave it better than the way that you found it. And I went to work at Chelo Publishing, and I got the position originally as deputy chairman of the INBF WNBF. So I worked closely with Steve Downs and Charlie Carolla and Shayla, the president. Steve left in 2009. I got promoted to chairman, and I was made editorial director of the magazine. And that's when we really started struggling. Just a coincidence? No. We started. You know, when I went in there, we had no digital plan. We had a huge debt that we were trying to overcome, because when a magazine doesn't sell, what happens is circulation company will advance you money to publish a magazine. You have to sell a certain percentage. If you don't, you owe the circulation company X number of dollars. They'll front you for the next issue. If that doesn't sell, you owe them, and the debt just accumulated. So it kind of moved in. I had accumulated a lot of debt over the last, really, I think it was like 7 or 8 years that the magazine was really taking a hit. And I had an idea, because I'd always heard that the magazine is a vehicle for building the INBF WNBF athletes. And there was a media restriction at the time. You couldn't appear in another magazine.
Yeah,
we had
I remember
people
that. Yep.
Wanted to be in Muscle Mag International or Flex or Muscle and Fitness, and they were told, no, you can't. As WNBF Pro, if you appear outside of those magazines, you're going to be suspended.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
So it was always my understanding that we promoted our athletes, and I started looking around at some of the shows, and I figured, my feeling that everybody does have a voice. I started to get away from the same people that we had been promoting year after year, issue after issue, and that was a criticism. It's the same faces in the magazine. So I tried to bring in some new faces. I got criticism for that, because it's people wanted more of some of the same champions that they had seen, and that that kind of created a little bit of conflict in the office. I'd always believed that if you were a champion, if you won the world championships, if you won the universe, you belonged on the cover, and that was, to me, that was fair. And I was kind of told that no, the magazine is more mainstream. You have to find somebody that is attractive, that will look the part on the cover of the magazine. So now it's like, okay, well, you've got people that you're kind of telling that they can't go elsewhere, but we're also kind of sterilizing the magazine by not putting our world champions on the cover. So that was like a little bit frustrating too. So it was, it was a tough ending, and I still remember, we pulled off the September show. There was the Pro US Cup, I think it was, Natural Mania Pro US Cup.
I think Pro US. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was Pro Universe. They call it now.
It was Pro Universe.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was the US Cup, because we had a
okay.
problem with that show being canceled during the year. And we pulled it off. It was a successful show. I'm working on the latest issue. Mr. Lowe comes into the office and says, are you going to be ready to ship? And I said, yeah, we'll be ready to ship tomorrow. He goes, that's good. He goes, let's go to lunch. So, okay, so we go around the corner to lunch, and he goes, how's your wife? Wife is good. How's the baby? Baby's good. We're out of business.
There it is.
Really? So I guess what had happened was our circulation director and our office manager had not looked at some paperwork that had come back from Curtis Distribution, who was fronting our magazines, and they had not approved us to have another magazine be published. Like every issue would go through it. So we went and we published the magazine anyway, and it came due that now it was like $40,000 or $50,000 that was due, plus I think it was $600,000 that we were in debt from.
My goodness.
And again, these are this is the recollection of like 7 years ago. So. And 2 Irish whiskeys last night. So it was basically the magazine tanked and put us out of business. Now you have the Worlds is coming up. So I said, when's our last day? And he said, well, next Friday is our last day. Good. Okay, well, we'll figure this out. Over the weekend, I got a call from Charlie Corolla, and again, I can't say enough about Charlie. Charlie was, you know, to me, one of the most important people I met during my time in the WNBF. Just a great friend, great mentor, you know, one of the hardest working people, and deserves a lot more credit in natural bodybuilding than I think he ever got. So like I said, I can't say enough about him. So he says, you know, I talked to Che, and we're thinking about not doing the Worlds. And you don't have a job right now, and Che is pretty much talking about retiring. So I said, why don't you turn WNBF over to Rich? Give him that as a job. Okay, thanks. And I'm at my son's hockey game, so I'm stepping out from the game into the parking lot, and he says, you know, give Che a call. So I call Che, and we talk, and he goes, I just want to give it to you. He goes, I want to turn it over. He goes, but the only stipulation is you have to do the Worlds. And Charlie had already sent me over the numbers on what it would take to do the Worlds. So I said, you know, yeah, I mean, Charlie says financially we can do it. You know, he sent me all the numbers and everything, that if I get a strong gate and I go through with this, you know, it's we can pull it off. He goes, okay. He goes, I want to turn the WNBF over to you. So Monday morning, you know, he comes in and he shakes my hand, and we go in the conference room, and he sits down and he goes, I'm going to have my lawyer draw up the paperwork. I talked to him already. He said, do you want to lease it to him? I said, no, I just want to give it to him. He said, okay. I said, that's really cool. I want, you know, I think it's going to be in good hands. I want to give it to you. Lightning strike me dead. So I'm like, that's really, really cool. So, you know, during the day we're making the transition. I think I made the post.
Yep.
You know, I talked to Charlie. I talked to Mr. Lowe. They said, put it out on your Facebook page. You know, it's a positive thing. And it was received very positively.
Yeah,
which
I remember.
I felt really good about. I talked to Nancy. I talked to Dr. Joe. They were both very positive about it. I was really happy. So as I'm leaving, Charlie calls and he goes, "Did you talk to him?" I said, "Talk to who?" He goes, "Talk to Che." He goes, "No, you know, we've talked all day long." He goes, "Did he say anything about leasing?" I said, well, he mentioned it this morning. He said his lawyer mentioned it, but he said he just wanted to give it to me. He goes, oh, he's talking lease now. Stick my head in. I say, you know, Mr. Lowe, I just talked to Charlie. He said that you're not giving it to me, you're leasing it to me. He goes, no. He goes, I'm giving it to you. He goes, that's just lawyer talk. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit
Weird, yeah.
a little like, you know, can you pass the Johnny Walker down? So Wednesday rolls around, calls me into the conference room again, closes the door. He goes, okay. He goes, I'm having my lawyer draw up some paperwork. We'll go down to my lawyer's office and we'll look into the trademarks. He goes, the trademark for INBF has to be paid next year. The WNBF trademark has to be paid this year. You can never lose the trademark. If you try to sell the trademark or if you violate the bylaws, it all comes back to me. I'm like, all right, well, I have no plan on
losing that trademark. Yeah,
on losing a trademark or violating the bylaws, which both this big that I planned on reading at some point. But I'm starting to feel really uncomfortable. So I'm talking to Charlie, and Charlie is just like, it's getting a little weird. Very loyal to Che, but even he kind of sensed that this was not what he and Che had talked about on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not what we had talked about, and every day it's a little bit more.
Getting different.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday rolls around, and Thursday afternoon, and again, I'm busy cleaning out files and pictures and forwarding emails, so I still have a ton of emails from this time. And Che calls me in the office. He said, okay, I talked to my attorney. We're going to go down to his office and we are going to draw up the contract. You're going to have to pay for the attorney to draw up the contract, pay for the trademark. And he said, and I'm going to lease it to you for $1 every year. I'm like, well, what happened to you're just going to give it to me? He goes, my lawyer says I can't do that, so I'm going to lease it. So I will still have control of it. I'm just going to have you run it. So I said, well, Mr. Lowe, I said, I appreciate this, but I need to talk to my attorney. And he goes, what? And he basically explodes. He called me stupid. He called me arrogant. He called me egotistical. He called me selfish. He told me that this woman, my attorney, was, trying to sabotage the deal, and it was just, and at that point when he was ranting, I just said, Mr. Lowe, thank you for everything. I can't do this. And I walked out of his office, posted on my Facebook page that basically after careful consideration, I'm no longer, I'm done. I'm not, it was a mess. That was pretty much my reason behind leaving the WNBF. It was nothing against the WNBF. It was nothing against, the policies. It was nothing against Charlie, Fred, any of the promoters, Nancy, all the friendships that I made in there. It really came down to,
you don't want to get screwed.
I don't want to get screwed. Even if he had come back and said to me, I'm sorry, do you want it back?
Damage is done.
Yeah, exactly. You just burn that bridge.
Yeah.
And just move in a different direction. Not have to worry about whether it's being leased or given, or am I inheriting debt, or how much damage there is. And just, it was a really, it was a sad time because I had been very, very loyal to Mr. Lowe and to the WNBF, and I took a lot of heat during the the wars between all the federations, and dealing with the trying to balance the magazine with the organization.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Which was that was not easy, because you're telling the athletes one thing and you are promoting something totally different in the magazine.
Don't go anywhere else, but we can't feature you here.
Yeah, I mean it was really, so I mean it's, Nancy and I are still very friendly. We talk a couple of times a year. We still text her Facebook and stuff like that. And the direction that she's going in, with the WNBF is admirable. I love what Vicky and Mike and Guy I have done with the DFAC. There's definitely a better relationship, I think, between the two federations than when I first left. Started up the DFAC. I think that we're aligned on our drug testing,
which is good.
We're sharing banned substance lists
and failures, stuff like
and
that.
failures and things like that. And so it's it took some time, but that rift, I think, has kind of been repaired. And
respecting show dates too.
Respecting show dates too. I mean, we had the conflict last year in New Jersey, and out of respect, we moved our show date. So I mean, that's pretty much the whole story behind it.
All right, cool. All right, moving on. We'll go question 3 from Sophie Brown. We miss Sophie. All right, so I saw a post that a bodybuilder, specifically a bikini competitor, put up saying that she ate intuitively all prep except for peak week. What are your thoughts on this? Can you eat intuitively while on prep? And how loosely do you think intuitive means? And then why would you change that going into your peak week? So for me personally, I think this is ridiculous.
I feel like my understanding intuitive eating is eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. So then that's any manipulation
or eyeing things.
Yeah.
Like 50 grams protein. That's fine for off season. That's fine for off preseason, like that. Like when it comes to prep, we're trying to achieve a certain look. You can't monitor and adjust something that isn't measured.
Right.
And then why? Okay, if that's your approach, why all of a sudden you're gonna fucking change it the last week?
You change when it's not working.
Yeah, it's like
it's obviously not working, so I'm gonna have to change it because I have to get on stage. It's like you're not planning for anything and you're rushing and trying to get your body ready in a week's time to get on stage. It makes no sense. And intuitively, like instinctively, like you said, you're going to eat when you're hungry, you're going to drink when you're thirsty, but a lot of times people overeat.
Right. Oh, I say I could never intuitively eat. I don't trust myself.
Everything also too has got to be consistent. So if you're intuitively eating and you're eating this, you're eating that, and I'm guessing this, I'm guessing that, and then you get to the last week and now it's like, oh, everything's on point. You're gonna get unintended consequences. Like, oh, now all of a sudden you're gonna eat a little cleaner. Now all of a sudden your sodium takes a shit. Okay, now you have all these inconsistencies. Oh, let me stay on top of my water. All those imbalances. Like I don't know.
Metabolism takes a hit.
Yeah.
Hormones take a hit. You can't do it.
For off season, fine. Like lifestyle people, fine, maybe. But I would never prep anyone like this. I wouldn't even be on board with something like that. People with better genetics, fine. Maybe they can get away with it. But just imagine if they were as precise all the way through. I remember one of my shows. I think it was 2011 Hercules. There was just some kid he was a pain in the ass. It wasn't even on my team. It just was on social media all the time. And he was one of those, oh, I just want to know my body and just eat when I want. And he saw me that I was very balanced and counting macros. He's like, oh, why would you do that? I'm like, I don't care who you are or how much you know your body. If you took the same version of you, if you cloned yourself and one of you did it this way and the other person made sure that they knew you don't have to be over go too obsessive, but you got someone who's eating all over the place versus someone who's I got consistency going. I know what I'm eating. I know how to really fine tune that peak week. I know how to really come in. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win?
The person who's fine tuning.
You know what I'm saying? So it's I don't know. I can never be in for something like that. Don't ever come to me for a prep like that.
Whenever something changes or you're like, yeah, that's fine, or do that, I'm like, really? Yeah. Like I don't trust myself to intuitively eat. But again, it's like you wouldn't.
But that's off season. It's off season. I try to tell people.
Enjoying. That's
don't get
when
fat.
You learn your body.
But don't get fat. Don't starve yourself. Find a nice balance. Oh, you can go out to eat. Oh, okay, that's about 50 grams per. Oh, I had carbs. Let's not have this. Let's get vegetables. That's fine.
Yeah,
But for prep, it's like.
Well, it's like if you're gonna build something, it's like measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go into a prep being like, yeah, we'll just start with this many carbs this week because. When you get to peak week, how do you know?
Yeah.
Right. Was it week 1 that worked really well? Was it week 3 that worked really well?
Or was none of them that worked?
Yeah, no. None. You're done.
I can't.
Well, I think there's also that gym ripped versus stage ripped.
Yeah.
You get people that are, they'll they go to the gym, they eat clean, they look in the mirror and it's just people are like, oh, you're ripped. Well, there's gym ripped. There's competition ripped.
Yeah.
And I think in competition, you can't get away with that arbitrary, I'm just going to eat.
Those people at the gym in your ear telling you you're ripped are not judging you.
No. Yep. And people say, like, oh, what show are you training for? Are you, 1 week out? And I'm like...
all the time.
Nope.
Nobody.
Nope. None.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
so that's not happening, so no good. No good there. Question 5 from Jen. I missed 4? Yeah. I missed 4, sorry. Wow. Sorry. Question 4, Rob K. For the female competitors, as physique competitors, meaning himself, we are generally on and off stage in a matter of minutes. How do you keep your composure being on stage for so long, especially bikini, when you have to walk to and from the curtain so many times?
That's actually like the break, I feel. I mean,
as soon as I turn around, I'm like, oh
yeah. No, I mean, I feel like competing in different classes, I found actually figure is the hardest for me because that I feel like is a lot of endurance and you have to hit that pose and be in it for the longest amount of time versus you still have to try in fit body and bikini, but like fit body I feel like you have more time in between the transitions to get to where you need to be, and it's just I don't know, you have more like a break.
I think that style, especially last year, I mean, Shauna too, it was the first time doing bikini and figure, and there's that very fine line that you cross. Bikini, you have a little bit more style. You can be a little bit, not looser, but a little bit more free-flowing, but in figure, you have to hit that pose. If you need to reset, you can, but you have to time when you're going to reset.
Yeah. It comes down to practice, to be honest. The more you practice up front and the better you're going to look on stage, the more comfortable you're going to be on stage.
You have to have
endurance. And the endurance piece, you're not going to have that overnight. So you can see it. You can see those on stage who practice. And you can see those on stage who they like, okay,
they're ready
hold the pose.
Yeah, I feel like each class has its ups and downs, pros and cons, and its difficult features. I break it down like I have, bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is more structured. There's a lot more poses to cover. It's all your front, side, rear, side. Now it's front double bi, front lat spread, most muscular, crab most muscular, side chest, side tricep, rear double bi, rear lat spread, raise on your fucking calves, like everything. So you have more chances to display your highlights, but guess what? It's exponentially more poses to master. I'll have people come in here and it's like, all right, let's get going. Let's see what we got. New person, let's go. Okay, we just spent an hour on the front and front relaxed. I'm in trouble. So there's a lot more poses to master. For bikini and men's physique, you can end up on stage a lot more, but there's also a lot more movement allowed. There's a lot more flexibility. You could take a rest by moving your pose. There's more flexibility, there's more flow. So this is a positive for people who are comfortable with it, but it's a negative for rigid people like me. I cannot do men's physique. I just want to hit smile. Yeah, okay. Fucking, you mind? Like my poses in bodybuilding, which is like, like mean mugging. So it depends on who the athlete is. Figure's definitely more structured, and if you have a flaw, it shows.
Big time.
With fit body, again, you have more opportunities to display yourself. You can hide some of those flaws, but guess what? That's front double bi, overhead ab, rear double bi, side chest, side tricep. That's 5 more poses. So it's like that's where things get a little rough. It's like there's ups and downs with each of them. In terms of like being on stage for so long, bikini is definitely on stage. I feel like the longest. But sometimes men's physique is up there too. If you have a tough bodybuilding class, especially in the pro ranks, these fucking people could be up there forever. It's like. Because you got to hit all these poses. Let's see these two in their front double bicep next to each other. Oh, move him out. Oh, it's front. So it all depends on how competitive really that class is. If you go into a bikini class and it's a clear who's 1, 2, 3, yes, it's going to move a little faster. So I mean,
for sure,
very very different. Based on the class and what type of athlete you are. I like the more rigid stuff for me personally. So. Men's physique would just not work for me.
Not on stage anytime soon for that?
No, I'm done. I'm fucking done. Now we're at question 5. Okay, so this is Jen to the panel. What fitness, competition, nutrition, misconception out there drives you nuts and you want to clear it up once and for all?
I starve myself the whole time.
Yeah.
No. I actually eat more when I'm getting ready for a show than I do off season. And like, what do you mean by eat more? I eat more often. I'm eating cleaner, so the volume of food is a lot larger. Like, okay, I can have a cookie now because that's great, but it's 1 cookie or maybe 2 cookies. So the calorie amount that I'm eating is a lot higher off season.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand.
So the calorie amount is higher off season, but that volume is more for prep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so the misconception of just because you're doing something you're starving yourself, that is definitely a big misconception. I always say that more is better. It's like, oh, people are like overtraining. More is not better. Better is better.
Smarter is better.
Yeah, you work smarter.
It drives me nuts that people assume that aesthetics equals health or even fitness, and you could be out of shape and be like. Look good.
Yeah.
Or you can have some serious hormonal or like internal issues and look good. People should be careful about who and what they idolize and what they're going for, because that's not always.
You don't know the true story. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
I don't like the idea that everyone thinks that they're motivational and inspiring.
More so after they do one show, now they're this fitness icon.
Not even just a show. It's like some of these people are taking pictures. Some of these people are taking these pictures in their underwear, and it's like then they got this big long motivational quote like they're fucking Gandhi. It's like what is this? How do we go from taking these like near nude photos, posting it, and it's just like positive vibes to my tribe and blah 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 and. I want to reach and help the world by being this humble human being. It's just like,
What?
What you're putting out into the universe is actually hurting because this is why aliens don't come and visit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They've
Like,
seen and
yeah,
they're
so
like,
like,
nah,
no,
good.
nope,
Good.
they're not ready. So it's like, that drives me, nuts. The idea that everyone thinks that everything's going to happen overnight. This, the lack of patience.
Immediate gratification.
Yeah, and the mental instability. It's like, listen, if you got some issues up here, then,
they shouldn't be doing a show.
But not even just that. You got to manage it.
Figure them out yourself.
The idea that you have those issues and now you are roping me. I don't have those issues. I have my own issues. But just because you're having them, you're making me feel you're pulling me in.
You're
Times that by 30, 40, 50 people. It's like, listen, get your shit together. When I was with Dr. Joe, Dr. Joe did not know anything crazy, weird about me. Like, I gave him my check-ins, I asked him my questions, I did my workouts, I counted my fucking macros. That was it. It wasn't like, oh my god, this, oh my god.
You did your job.
I do.
That's it.
And nowadays, it's just like, I'm looking at some of these emails, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
People want to tell you their
Can
life
you
story
highlight
before
the
you
parts?
even.
I'm just like, just get to the point. It's like, it's one of the big things. I don't know. Like, it drives me nuts about fitness is, the lack of the lack of patience, the lack of consistency, and then you put a pinch of mental instability in there, and then it's fucking over.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Complete drama. Unnecessary stress.
And the one last thing that I don't like about, in terms of misconceptions is some of these coaches will use the biggest words, overcomplicate things. They'll make a post this long that basically is just saying, eat carbs, protein, and fat before you work out. I don't like the idea that people are, using bigger terms and making things a lot more complicated than what they are just to seem smarter. If you want to be a coach and you want to be a teacher, I went to school to be a fucking teacher, okay? I went to college to be a teacher. What I was taught was you take the complicated shit and you apply it to the person, relate it to them, and make it simple.
Yeah.
You don't sacrifice on the fundamentals. You don't sacrifice on what you believe in. You don't have to, like... You want to dummy it down so they better understand you, but you don't sacrifice on what's right, what's wrong, or what works. But you just got to relate it to that person. You don't have to use the big words to do that.
Someone said that to me once. They said kiss. I was like, what are you talking
keep it
about?
simple,
Keep it
stupid.
Yeah.
Like we don't need
way to
this. We don't need the big words. We don't need everything from the book. It's like just make it relatable to the person. And that's what's going to take you further. So people are not smarter because they use bigger words or stuff like that. Just get the shit done.
I had a friend that was a personal trainer. Really, really good guy. But he got into the whole functional training aspect of it. And he would do the whole stand on the Bosu with the kettlebell out here and the flaming torch here and stuff like that. And it was almost like
the ambulance waiting outside.
Right. So he made the movements so complicated that
you relied on him.
Yes, and I think as I don't really do a lot of coaching. I don't know when people went from being a personal trainer to being a coach. I'm not really sure exactly when that transition is. I talk to people. It's like, oh, you're a trainer. No, I'm a coach. Really? What are you doing out there?
Life coach.
Yeah, life coach. I couldn't figure out what to do with my life, so I became a life coach. Tell everybody else what to do. But this was how he got retention. So to me, as a coach or as a trainer, or whatever you want to call it, like you said, you're a teacher. You're supposed to teach people. They should be able to, at some point, go out and do this on their own and rely on you less.
Yep.
Doesn't mean they're not going to use your services. Because I think that you need somebody that can step back and see the big picture because you're so caught up in the middle. And I found myself sabotaging myself so much because I overthought things. That's just kind of like my nature. I would get right up to the very end and just self-destruct because you know too much. But I think that there's a fear of not teaching, not passing on the knowledge. Or I've seen coaches where, the client knows the stuff, and the coach just kind of corrects them out of nowhere, like, no, that's why you need me, because you thought you were supposed to do this, and really what I want you to do is I want you to do this. And they're like, oh, God, I need.
You become dependent.
I need you.
Exactly.
'Cause it's a form of dependency.
It's just, you know, again, that's part of the industry I really don't like.
Yeah. Me too. And last question, question 6 from Catherine. Question for Ryan and open to the panel. For lifestyle fitness and trying to eat better and lose weight, but you're not, necessarily counting macros, does buying eating things that say low fat, fat free, light, reduced fat, etc. actually mean anything? Is it a better, healthier option, or does it not really matter if you aren't counting macros? I say that this will help. It will help just because you can't rely on it. You still have to have a good relationship with food. You have to be knowledgeable. But what's happening is once you get fat-free and reduce fat, one, you got to watch out for chemicals and shit like that. You can't just be overdoing it.
Once you take all the fat out, you have to add something in there.
Yes.
It's not magic.
Yes.
You can't just extract.
It can help in moderation because it's bringing the calories better to a deficit.
Yes.
Okay? But that is not the, at the end of the day, whether you're counting macros or not, by eating some of these reduced fat things, yes, calories in versus calories out, it'll help to lower it, but it's not going to be the end-all, be-all. That doesn't mean that everyone has to count macros. Like, especially off-season or lifestyle people, the key is it's accounting. Calories in versus calories out. That's what it comes down to. Any successful diet, keto, this, the fucking what are these other things? The paleo. Everything is based on the simple premise: you have to create a deficit. So if these things help you to create a deficit plus exercise and stuff like that, fine. But you gotta be aware of too many chemicals and
you also have to think about too, like some things are naturally fat free. Yeah. It's just marketing.
Yep.
Swedish fish, fat free. It's like
Oreos are gluten free naturally.
You see that though. It's like a fat free snack. It's
I'll
like
take it.
diabetes. Like you got to know your way around.
But that's the smart.
But if you look at to be fair, if you look at Europe tends to have less of an obesity problem. So Swedish fish are probably better than the American gummy fish.
Okay.
And free healthcare.
So I think that will actually help if you're smart with your if you buy fat free or reduced fat Cool Whip, but you're having it on a huge ice cream sundae and you're not working out enough. It's not going to help. But here and there it could help.
I have a friend who, perfect example on fat free. She goes, I'm eating a Lara bar a day. And she's, trying to monitor her macros, her calories in, her calories out. Are those healthy for me? And I was like, okay, well, I could tell you straight off of that. Lara bars are higher in fat. So and she's like, well, they don't really keep me full. And I was like, okay, well then don't eat it. You need to eat things that are going to fulfill you nutritionally throughout the day. Yeah. And again, if those reduced fat, just know what's in your food.
Yep.
Yeah.
If
you can't depend on it.
You can't depend on it. You can't be like, oh, okay, so I had fat-free cheese over here, but now I'm going to go eat the pizza with I don't know what kind of cheese is on it.
Defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
It's a tool in the arsenal. It is not the end all.
It's not the arsenal.
Yes.
Not at all. You gotta. What does your whole day look like?
Yeah.
What does your week look like?
That fat-free cheese on there doesn't matter, because you know what? If someone's eating great and they're exercising and they're really in tune with they have a good relationship with food, maybe they don't need fat-free cheese.
Right, and then you also have to think too, you don't need to cut out certain food groups. Fat isn't bad.
It's not.
That is
yes.
great.
Carbs
In moderation.
Yeah, no,
carbs are
it's
good
a balance. It's a balance.
That's what life is.
Yeah. You need the balance, and you need to just be aware. And at the end of the day, like I said, there are so many different things out there that will lead to weight loss success. Whether it be in bodybuilding, lifestyle, in any other sport, if you're trying to lose weight, it's got to be a deficit. You got to create a deficit through exercise and proper eating and counting. If you're just some people don't even realize. We talked about in other episodes, bites, licks, and tastes. Oh well, yeah, I ate good, and I'm about this many calories per day, but it's like they taste this and they taste that, and it's like, okay, so the bites, licks, and tastes, BLTs added up to another 700 to 800 calories per day. You do the math on that per day. Now we're at what you should have lost in body fat for the week. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be aware of stuff like that.
That rounded tablespoon of peanut butter versus that rounded tablespoon of peanut butter.
Scale. Always go with the scale.
Always.
Oh yeah, the scale. But in prep, you know,
Yeah.
off season things are a little looser than
You can enjoy that little bit of
but
peanut
in
butter.
prep, you definitely gotta take care of that. So I hope that helped out Kat, which would also spill over to Cody. Kat and Cody. Kat and Cody. Okay, so moving forward, if you have any questions for Tough Table or the panel, please email me at info@Sci-Unisonfitness.com. In the future, we always post the panel on social media, and you can put all your questions there. So you can ask questions to the full panel or specific guests. If you have a question now that you know and you just want to make sure it's in for the next episode, you can send me an email there. I'll leave that in the description, and that will be the end of the first half. So here is a little, thing from our sponsors. Okay, welcome back, and we are ready to now roll into main topic number 2, which is going to be maximizing that post-show, post-diet window. The period of time after a show or a successful fat loss diet is a very critical time, not only for potential muscular gains, but also for avoiding that horrible that horrible rebound or reverse. All right. The key is to maximize this period and to really avoid those destructive binges that can negate all that hard work. In order to better manage your reverse, we have a group of some Blegic calisthenic videos to help out.
1, 2, I'm gonna do 100. 3, 4. 5
times 20, you're done.
6.
Alright.
7.
Alright, Joe, put the weight down.
Come on, Joe. Boo! Joe, we want to see
Joe.
Blegic.
Okay, so thank you, Blegic, and now we are going to take this topic seriously now. So, maximizing post-show. Who's starting? Not me. Talk louder. Say it again, louder.
So maximizing the post-show,
And how important is
it's very, very important. I remember when I first started, I didn't have no clue. I gained about 10 pounds in 1 week. Talk about not healthy.
Got you topped, but go ahead.
But it's important because you want to take advantage of your metabolism being high, and you being able to put on muscle in a shorter period of time. Good lean muscle. Or if you still want to keep lean or lose that weight, and you don't want to really put on the fat and be bloated and be uncomfortable, and be irritable. And there's so many more hormonal issues and psychologically as well, because when you balloon up, talking about a mind fuck, you just got on stage, you look maybe the best you've been ever. And then now you got this big old belly. You
went from hero to
like,
zero.
Exactly, and so there's so many reasons why. You know, it's mentally. It's because you don't want to shock your body in that degree.
Right. Because
at the end of the day,
it's in hormones like this.
Your hormone levels are going to be all over the board. You want to kind of keep everything nice and leveled.
Yeah.
As you coming back to your normal eating patterns.
Yeah, because if you're ready for the show and you're very low in body fat, okay, and then you have this destructive binge. What's immediately the solution to that? Oh, I fucked up. I gotta start dieting again.
Yeah.
It's just like you just were at the maximum of a diet, and now you destroyed yourself, which can happen very fast. I was talking about my first show, 2016. I stepped on stage on a Saturday at 192, 193 pounds. By Tuesday, I was 217.
Woo! Dang.
It's just a balloon effect. Now Fat Ryan is back. Okay? So now you're in this position where it's like you could have stretched this out, got good muscular gains, come up a little leaner, but now I'm like back doing cardio. Now I'm back to trying to
and nothing's happening.
And nothing's happening because now it's like, you lost it now. So you can't have that big balloon in calories, but also too, the increases have to be enough.
Yep.
You can't be at like 100 carbs, let's say, for going into your show, and now it's like your show's over. It's like, I'm gonna do 110 carbs today.
Yeah, I don't like the whole like reverse diet police that are like they do the increments so slow where it's like, okay, you're
we're gonna
at like
add
25 calories.
We're gonna add 10 carbs today and 1 gram of fat. It's like, this is gonna get you fucking nowhere. So you can't balloon up. But you also can't do stuff because you're essentially 25 calories. Like, if you add a couple of carbs, it's like, well, what is it? What is that? Like, chew a couple pieces of gum, and there's your difference. It's not, it doesn't really matter.
Your body's sensitive, but it's not that sensitive.
You gotta add in, but not too much.
I know it's definitely hard to reverse diet. It's almost harder than the actual dieting leading up to the show, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, because there's no date circled.
Right.
It's not like, oh, well, people are going to see me in my underwear on this date, so I better look my best. Now it's like, oh, well, they're not going to, so.
And I think that's another really important thing to discuss with your coach if you have one when you start to plan to compete is what's going to happen post-show and are you going to be there for me?
A lot of these coaches don't. They just want the money for the show, and it's
by
like on your fucking own, and then it's like, why would you do that? Because if they come back to you, which is what you want, you're going to have to fix the fucking mess.
That you let them fall into.
It's an extra charge. It's,
yeah, but why not? But I charge, but still, I base it off monthly. It's like, it is what it is. There's certain variable rates, but I talk to some people and they're like, oh, my coach doesn't do anything but prep. They don't want to do the reverse. It's like, this is weird. So they don't want input in the period of time where you can either make the best gains or you can become the most destructive. If you become destructive and you come back for another prep next year, that's your fucking problem to fix.
It's to me, I mean, it's I might be wrong, I mean, but coaching is a year-round thing.
Yeah.
Because it's something that, bodybuilding is a lifestyle. Bodybuilding, figure, bikini, whatever, physique competition is a lifestyle. And you can't say that, okay, I just want to use a coach to get me ready for a show when that entire year is about getting ready for the show. Your next show. It's making improvements. It's bringing up weaknesses.
I had 2 years on the fucking bench.
I kicked and screamed.
It's 2 years of time.
Yeah.
You're not on stage, but it still counts.
Right.
But I think it also has to deal with the coaches knowing. A lot of coaches are cookie cutting what they've been through, or what someone who's in a non-natural arena is doing. Yeah. You can't do the same thing when you're in a natural arena. You can't just eat whatever you want and have very little water or whatever the method is, the protocol is. You can't do that. And a lot of the coaches are doing it. They're like, oh, well, this is what worked for me. What works for you is not going to work for every single one of your athletes at all.
It's become almost a numbers game where people will go online, they'll read stuff, they'll get information from other coaches, and it becomes accounting. It becomes like, okay, these are your numbers, and they're going to take you to this point here. but with a coach is going to be able to kind of check in on you and make those adjustments and do all that. So it's more than just a numbers game. Otherwise, we're just doing Weight Watchers.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And I mean, for me, I think, you know, obviously going into a show, I'm not saying that everyone has to do a ton of cardio, but going into a show, that's when each person, you know, based on their genetics, is probably doing the most amount of cardio. For them. You know, coming out of this show, you know, they got to make small decreases in cardio. Some people try to keep up the same amount of cardio. Why? No, you don't do that. Small decreases. And some people go with the other extreme where it's like, oh, off season, no cardio.
I need to give myself a break.
Yeah.
A big, like a...
We're not saying that you need to be doing 20, 30 minutes of cardio after all your weight training in the off season, okay? Because it's just sapping up time. But I'm a believer in, you know, cardio in lower amounts all year. Like, why would you not want cardio? It keeps everything running. It keeps your heart going. It's just like you don't want to just sit around, lift, be a sloth, and that's the end of the end of the game. I like active athletes. You know what I'm saying? Activity for me is good, but again, you have to make the switch as you're coming off. Slow decreases of the cardio, but you know.
And I think it's also you need to have like an understanding and know that there's a time and a place for show leanness, and that it's just as important to not be as lean as you are. Like, and it is important to put on the body fat in the off season to make changes and to give your hormones and everything else a break. And especially, I know, like for myself, I have to remind myself that it's just because you're not stage lean doesn't mean you're sloppy. You know, and you can have a off season body that you can be proud of and not be shredded. You can do it.
Yeah, because if you're always shredded, you're never gonna really improve.
No,
you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be an excuse for pizza, beer, you know, stuff like that approach. But there needs to be a certain balance there. Also, coming off, you know, people got to address, you know, certain fat loss supplements. If you're using something to help you with the fat loss, once you stop competing, once the show's over, you need to slowly wean off of that stuff. You don't want to just keep taking this shit for months on end, like, oh, well, I'm going to eat more, so I'm going to keep the fat burners high to, like, counter it. It's like, no, you got to take a fucking break from this stuff. You have to wean off of that stuff. You got to give the whole system a break, not even just fat loss supplements. All supplements. Everything. You got to give yourself a nice little break there.
So, like, everything comes in a cycle. You can't always be on. You can't, and to be off doesn't make any sense if you want to continue to do bodybuilding in any kind of form, or if you want to continue to be healthy or continue to be, you know, the best person that you can be. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just mad as fuck today. Like, oh, I'm going to be happy tomorrow. No, you can't do that. And that's the same thing when you're getting ready for a show, when you're coming off of that show as well. And then when you're getting into a normal capacity for yourself. And it's balance. Like, a lot of people don't have the balance or don't know where to go for the balance. So they are looking at all these different websites, bodybuilding.com, or, you know, whatever they find, or maybe it's that favorite Instagram person that they're looking at for guidance. And that's where the coaches come in. But again, a lot of those coaches don't even know it themselves. So it's like, okay,
or they're just like, oh, the show's over.
And then
they're done.
Done deal.
They're done.
Well, I think there's a certain romanticism with the grind. You know,
oh, jeez.
That, you know, there's
no days off.
no days off.
Yeah, team no days off.
You know, it's the, what is it? Obsessed is the, you know.
It's a word that lazy use to describe
the dedicated.
The dedicated or something like that. So, I mean, it's the same, you know, it's the same thing. You have to squat, you have to deadlift, you have to suffer, you have to, you know, do all of these things because that's what champions do. And it's like, well, no, you need to find something that fits your lifestyle that will help you accomplish your goal.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
keep you in the game longer.
And keep you in the game longer and keep you constantly progressing and still enjoying the sport.
If you have a knee injury, that's bad when you squat, but you keep squatting, what's going to happen in 3 years? You're out of the sport.
And
you're gone.
I can speak from experience because it's, you know, you know, in powerlifting, I had knee surgery. I rushed coming back from knee surgery. I changed my squat stance. I blew out my lower back. I had to have surgery on my lower back. And I switched to bodybuilding from there. And I broke my hand training for the 2000 Northeast America. And I'm like 6 weeks out from the show, and I've got a cast on my hand. So I cut the cast off because I couldn't do curls. I couldn't do all these things with the cast. I can tell you right now. I can tell you when it rains.
Yeah.
I
pay for it long.
Yeah. I broke my toe right before the Hercules. I kept doing calf raises on a broken toe, and now it's arthritic. So looking back, I mean, this is all stuff that I thought I'm motivated, I'm dedicated. I was an idiot. I was an asshole because it's now long term. I'm feeling all of this stuff because I tried to push through things that I shouldn't have tried to push through. I should have tried to work around, and whether or not that was giving my body time to heal and picked another show or picked another date, or finding some way to train without doing further injury. But the smart thing in me would have said, okay, this is a sign that I need to switch things around. But I think that people, again, they get so romantic about the suffering and the grind and the dedication and everything that we forget that again, this is all for fun.
And it's a lifelong thing too. I feel like people are in such a rush to either get on stage or to just have everything that is supposed to take like weeks and months and even years.
And I going back to coming right off that post show, it's a time when that food's coming in. Okay, your hormones are gonna start moving in a positive direction if you balance everything. So with all that food coming in, I always tell people we cannot take off from weight training after the show. People will take off from weight training. I did it. I used to do it. You take off from, I gotta give my body a break. Let's give the body a break at the time when food starts to come in. If you manage it well, it's a positive. If you are eating like a fat slob like I did my first 2 shows, then it's going to be a total negative. So you have all that food coming in, hormones want to start moving in a better position, and you're not doing anything.
You're taking your body is working at the most efficient. And you're not going to use it.
You're most receptive to the change.
I don't care how tired or worn out you are. That 7, 10, 12, 14 day period right there.
Crucial.
Go at it. You don't have to be like killing yourself, but train your weaker body parts. That's what I try to do with people. Give people bridges right after. Train your weaker body parts. Let's let the food come in. Yes, I know you're tired, but guess what? Once the food starts coming in, you notice you're not as tired. And then you go to a deload, and then you get the recovery, and then you reload, and then we're back at it. You know what I'm saying?
You're so strong. And
yes.
Great.
But to I just did the show. I'm off for 2 weeks, and all this food's coming in. It's not being placed, and you're not taking advantage of it. Then you come back, and maybe you did put on a little more weight. It's like, maybe I should have been a little more active. Maybe I should have addressed those body parts. If your body's the sponge, then let's focus on the week. Really push through. Once the food comes in, it'll actually be a little better. You'll get some of the energy. You're not going to be so deprived. The cardio will be less. You'll start to fill out a little better. Mentally, you're seeing better things in the mirror. You're more motivated as opposed to, I'm sitting home, I'm taking it easy, food's coming in, I'm not looking at myself, and shit, I'm fat.
I hate that.
I've made peace with it.
But I do feel like training hard, those lagging body parts, putting that food to use post show is a and then you worry about making the steps for the deload and the recovery. Let's take advantage of every little pop we can. As natural bodybuilders, you got to take what you can get, and that's a good anabolic window. Perfect. You got to use it. You got to use it, and then we'll rest later. Okay.
My favorite is leg day. I'm like, let's get some legs after. Really just came off stage.
That food comes in. Maybe not. This Sunday's a little rough. If you're posing hard, those legs are gonna be. They're gonna be screaming.
I gotta get my calves bigger. Though, I'm saying my calves are gonna.
I feel like taking advantage of that reverse, whether it be not just competing, if you're doing things like a successful fat loss challenge or weight loss, and you want to go back to something more maintainable. A key is willpower. You got to have willpower. That same willpower that got you down, to an extent, you got to have the same type of willpower to find your maintenance and kind of hang out there, or else you're going to end up where you were before.
And to be honest, I think that's the hardest piece, is finding that balance of what's gonna, where you're mentally, you're good to go, you're happy with your body, and the increases, or that, the progression is there, and you're not like, oh wait, what just happened? Shit.
And I feel like in a world of extremes, you don't have to be one extreme to
the other.
Either.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in season shredded and then like bulk. You actually don't necessarily need to like bulk heavy.
Yeah, because
especially as a natural.
Because okay, at the end you put on an extra 5 pounds. Like let's say you gain that 20, it's like, oh, I'm gonna put on 30, and now you get to a point where it's the law of diminishing returns. The fat's accumulating. Okay, fine, you put on what, another 7 ounces of muscle. Well, the longer your diet is now, you're gonna lose that. Like it's
so
negated.
I see people like all the time like, I'm up 20 pounds from stage, but only like 3 pounds is like body fat, and I'm like, you're actually insane, right?
Oh yeah, I gained 17 pounds of muscle in 3 weeks. Okay,
like, is that possible in
Drinking
3 weeks?
the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. That's the thing too. They confuse. It's like, oh, I put on 20 pounds of muscle after my. It's like, wait, hold on. There's muscle mass. There's muscle glycogen. There's water. Like it's not a whole 20 pounds of muscle there. You gotta,
a component.
Yes, relax with that. But I felt was good. The times I did succeed was having a hobby or hobbies, certain projects lined up to keep your mind off of the food and to keep your mind off of the stage and that obsession, because I want to get back on stage, I got to stay lean, I got to keep that up. It's like that's all you focus on. You got tunnel vision. You have tunnel vision. Or with me, for the first show, I didn't do too bad in 2017. 16 was so bad my first show. Throughout the whole diet, I made like mental notes of every food that I wanted, and I somehow consumed them all in like 2 days. So it's like if I had more things to do, everything was food. By Tuesday, I'm just like, food. Wednesday, food.
Yeah, I remember.
My hobby was food. My hobby was eating.
Familiar, yeah.
I had a note in my phone, and I had just a list of things and like screenshots of like crazy things I saw on the internet.
Yeah, everything was food. My hobby was food. My job was eating.
I think that's a huge misconception. Is everyone's like, oh, you're a bodybuilder, so what are you eating after? Like, that's the big question. I don't care about the show. They're like, no, but what are you eating after?
And I get so annoyed at that. I'm like, I don't know, a salad?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, you're annoying me.
It becomes an obsession, and it's like, okay, well, I crossed those 3 things off my list. Wait, okay, I'll give myself a few days, and now it's Friday. Let's go out and let's cross these 3 things off.
You don't have to be pressured into doing all those things.
Well, for me, at my first, it was like, oh, I crossed this off my list for breakfast. By 10 o'clock, I'm doing this.
You know, snack.
What not to do.
By 3 o'clock, I'm throwing up because my stomach can't process any of this.
And now that I'm empty, time to fill up.
Yeah. I did the Pro Universe in Greensboro, North Carolina in 2000. And I made a mistake. I listened to one of the judges from the Hercules. I won my pro card at the Hercules, and my plan was to go to Greensboro to qualify for the 2000 Worlds. So I talked to him afterwards. He goes, I thought you could be harder at the show. I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do? So he said, let me put you on the same program that I used on somebody else that had won the Worlds, one of the previous years. So I'm thinking, okay, this is great. And it was a keto diet. And again, some people respond great to keto.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't.
I am not.
Yeah,
so
me too. Yeah, I'll flatten right out.
Yeah, I went from a moderately high carbohydrate, moderately high protein diet, low fat diet, to doing a keto diet. And it's, I'm doing it all summer long. It was from June till August. and I can't sweat. I'm cold all the time. I'm going in tanning beds, and I'm not leaving any sweat in the tanning bed. I'm walking around. It's 90-something degrees. I've got a sweatshirt on. I'm cold, and I'm talking to him. He goes, "Well, that's okay. It means you're burning fat." Okay, I'll take your word for it, and stuff. So, needless to say, I went from, I think it was 202 at the Hercules, and I showed up in Greensboro at like 188, 189, something like that.
Wow.
And just flat
Yeah.
and soft and miserable. My hair was on point though. Had a very good stylist.
That's what
at the
happens to
time,
me
so
with too. If it's too high fat and
I was awful. I was miserable. I go to take my urine test, and the nurse takes the cup and goes, "Are you feeling okay?" And I said, "Tell you the truth, I'm tired. I just drove 11 hours to get down here, and I've been dieting." She goes, "Your temperature is 94 degrees."
Whoa.
That's
So
low.
she talks to Charlie, and Charlie's just like, we're not sure if you really should compete or not. So I convinced them to compete, and I did absolutely horribly. All pictures of the show will be burned. But as soon as I'm done, now I'm thinking about like, okay, I need to get something to eat. The only thing that was open in Greensboro at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday night is Hooters.
Even better.
So we're talking chili dogs, we're talking chili cheese fries, we're talking large sodas. I go and I eat that. I go back to my room. Wake up the next morning. There's like the continental breakfast with like the cinnamon rolls and the pancakes and stuff like that. And I go and I eat that. So I'm getting ready to get on the road, and Charlie looks at me and goes, "Wow, if you look like that at the show yesterday, you would have done pretty good."
Carbs filled you out.
Carbs filled me out. So now I'm thinking, if a little is good, more is better. I have an 11-hour ride home to New Jersey, so I'm stopping at every Dairy Queen and McDonald's. And I didn't even know what like biscuits and gravy was until I hit Maryland, and I said, "Yeah, just give me that," and stuff like that. So in less than 36 hours. I gained 32 pounds.
Oh.
You have me beat.
He beat you.
I kind of, defeated. It was kind of like Alien, like you just kind of feel like something's
Well, I had to induce vomiting because I remember sitting down and I went like this. I was like, "Damn, Marcus, I don't feel good." And he was like, "You all right?" And I was like, "Uh-oh, I feel stuck." I felt like I couldn't like open up. I was cramping, and I was like, "Something's not right. I can't like move." And I ended up getting rid of it. And not to be gross, I've said this before, the food was coming up. Like, I just had ice cream as the last thing. The food was coming up, and I still tasted ice cream. It was like sitting.
It's kind of like reverse dieting.
Yeah. It was like stuck here, and I was like, oh, I can stand up again. It just was not
This
good.
also happens at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this isn't just shows for you.
No, that show was bad, but he's got me beat.
Wow.
I pulled into my driveway. I walked into my apartment. I like laid down on the ground, and I'm like this. I'm like, I'm waiting for the Oompa Loompas to take me to the dejuicing room.
Yeah, and then from there, it would if you're planning on doing another show or you're doing another season, it's hard to now because you're low and then you're high and then you got to come back low again.
Body fat is just like
It's
not
not
fun
going to go
fight
anywhere.
through.
Yeah. It doesn't want to go anywhere.
What else?
So I have a question. So in instances like that, if you overeat immediately after a show, a lot of people's misconception is the next day, I'm just not going to eat as many calories. Like, what do you do following an episode of serious binging to kind of direct yourself in the path? Because people are like, oh, well, I ate, X amount of calories immediately after. I'm just going to I'm going to just deprive myself of some extra calories the following few days.
That actually could help. Okay? If you're in prep and stuff like that, if you're in prep and you ate too much, you binge, you cheated, and then you go to that as your fix, now you're going to always have that as your fix. So on prep, you're in trouble. You're coming off of a prep, let's say for me now, like I'm obviously not in prep, but off season, lifestyle, stuff like that. If you have a day where a big amount of calories come in, a huge amount of calories come in, I personally, and I don't want people doing this every fucking week, this is why please, I've benefited from an actual fast. Okay, so let's say, again, this is not prep. This is not prep.
This is not prep.
Bring it over. This is not for prep. Do not rely on this for prep. I don't want to fucking get an email about this being for prep. But like the last time I did it was lose wedding.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm good with my diet. Obviously, I have body fat to hold me over. Like, honestly, right now, if I stopped eating right now, I will not die because you have all this stuff stored over. Obviously, your body is much more sensitive when you're in prep. Less body fat. Shit starts going weird. You know, you don't want to do these crazy things. But right now, if I didn't eat, yeah, I'd be pretty pissed off. My stomach would be ground, kind of like it is now. But I'll survive. You can survive without food, okay, for a little while. So I've been good with my diet. We go to one of my client Lou's wedding, great wedding, a lot of food. So food was good. And I'm pounding it and pounding it and I'm eating this food. The next day, again, I have body fat to hold me over. I just had this large influx of calories. Let's make the numbers simple for now. Let's say I'm used to having 3,000 calories a day. Let's say I go to that wedding and for that day, let's say I had 7,000 calories. The next day, if I ate 0 calories for a 2-day average, I'm back where I was. You know what I'm saying? I got up the next day. I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. I'm not gonna die if I don't eat. I'm not in prep. There's not any stuff going on there. It's just lifestyle. I ate a ton. I usually push the day. I go like 12, 18 hours without eating, and then I'll have something light, maybe some vegetables, salad, and boom, I'm not having 0 calories for the day. I was just saying in terms of math and averages. If you do the averages for the 2 days, they kind of average out, and then by Monday, I feel great again, as opposed to all this food came in, 7,000 calories came in. Oh, I'm going to go back down to my regular 3,000. I'm going back to... You're throwing all this food in top of what you just consumed, which makes you feel worse. Your body can only drudge through so much, and you're not the most efficient machine because you're not 3 weeks out from a show. I feel personally I benefit from these small... I'm not going to do a 3-day fast. I'm not doing this juice challenge shit. But... I benefit from, I don't need to eat right. Oh, I'm a little hungry. Oh, it's mental. Let me just do my work. Let me focus on a hobby, okay? And that helps. So,
yeah, for sure.
You know, like just, you're trying to average out the calories. Yeah. If you brought in that big influx, even eating at maintenance the next day, you could. You could. I feel like I benefit personally for where I'm at in terms of fitness. I can do that fast. I can do it. And I love food. And I notice that when I throw in that big influx and then I try to eat the next day, I'm going to eat clean, but, you know, I'm still eating at regular, I still feel, I'm like, oh, God, I feel like shit. Meanwhile, if I go toward that fast later in the day, I feel, I can work out. I still have energy. Why would you not have energy? You still have stored carbohydrates. You still have the body fat to hold you over. All those calories were dumped in yesterday. It's not like, oh, God, I can't dare to lift weights. I'm not fueled. You are definitely fucking fueled. So sure. I've worked out technically. Again, this is not prep. I've worked out technically fasted because all that food has been thrown in, and I have stored carbohydrates. I have body fat stored. I'm not gonna die. You know, if I start to train and I feel lightheaded, I'm obviously going to stop, but that's never happened in my case. And I usually have great workouts, and then by the next day, I felt like that big binge never even happened. But again, it's not for prep.
I was just going to say, yes, that does work. Please, off-season only.
Yeah.
But, like, when I wake up, I'm not, like, same thing, I'm not hungry. So I really don't want to eat or have a need to eat until maybe halfway through the day. I'm like, oh, okay. But if I'm busy doing stuff, because that's what ends up happening, I'm running around doing errands, and I'm like, oh, wait, I should have eaten something. Yeah. So let me just grab something, and I'll grab, like, let's say my favorite is always breakfast. in the afternoon or for dinner. So it'll be like eggs with bacon on, maybe some bread, maybe not, maybe it's an omelet, but something small. Because again, I'm not hungry anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just eating because I know my brain needs to operate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think people also get caught up in the matter of routine. To they have to have their pre-workout. They have to have their pre-workout Pop-Tart. They have to have their,
Let me post it on Instagram. I'm in now.
So that's I can't train without that. And like you said, I mean, you're not going to starve to death.
No.
You've got a surplus of calories. You don't necessarily need to throw that stuff in because you're already there.
Yeah.
So people want that pre-workout meal because it's part of the ritual.
Yeah. Yeah, my pre-workout meal was all the short rib I ate at Lou's wedding. That could have fueled me in a small Chinese village for a week. That's how much food I ate. So
or North Korean.
Yes, or North Korean. Yes. So it's you got to watch stuff like that. So that definitely helps out, and that's a good thing to use with your reverse, because once you get into a reverse, what starts to happen? You're going to the weddings. You're more apt to go out to eat and stuff like that. So again, it's that balance. So now you're slowly trying to come up, and here's this big bump here. Okay, I'm eating here. There's a lot going on. It's like the next day. I don't think that you can eat as crazy as me, where you would need a fast or something like that. So in your sense, maybe not a fast, but like if you get this big influx one day, the next day, a little lower, a little lower. I'm not saying to rely on that. Oh, well, Monday and Thursday I'm going to starve myself because Sunday and it's a trick, but you can't go to it all the time.
Yeah, and it's definitely a learning process because I'll be the first to say it. I started that way earlier in my fitness journey, and after working with you and just working through, this is my first actual reverse, I would say. And I was telling Shauna earlier, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
You just learn, you listen to your body.
Yeah.
You learn what works for you and whether you should, wait a little bit longer to eat, or maybe you don't necessarily need to eat all of your calories for that day. But on social media, I think, again, positives and negatives, a lot of people are like, you have to eat your calories for that day because you're depriving your body. And then other people are like, no, you need to, punish yourself because you ate twice as many calories the night before. And it's a huge misconception. And again, like you said, what works for you is what's best in situations where
and that comes into intuitive eating.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's that's off season. You need to know how your body operates and learn how it works. And knowing which foods are best and not so great for you on any time of the year.
Yeah.
But that's when you listen to, hey, I'm not really hungry, so I'm not going to eat. Oh, I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat right now.
It also comes down to timing. When someone new signs up with me, they're like, "Oh, so we get meal plans?" I'm like, "Ew, no, I don't do that." Well, I'm like, why do you need me to tell you what to eat, when to eat it? I'm not you. I don't have your taste buds. I don't know your schedule. So I'm telling you, eat chicken and rice all the time. You're going to get sick of that, which means you're probably not going to follow. You're going to be more apt to binging. If it's more flexible, if you learn to be a little more flexible, now you're eating according to you. Hit these totals, which makes me happy. Follow these protocols and guidelines. Like, obviously, if you're having 200 grams of carbs in a day, we don't want 200 grams of carbs a day to come from broccoli. You know what I'm saying? Like follow these protocols and make this happen. And also, too, the timing. Oh, I need to know when to eat. That meal timing thing, you have to eat every 3 hours. That's kind of been dismissed.
Yeah.
Eat when you need to. Like for me, if I was competing, which I never will again, but with my work schedule, I wake up in the morning. I don't train in the morning. I'm sitting answering stupid fucking emails all the time. Okay, so I'm sitting. I don't need to wake up in the morning first thing in the morning and load up. I could eat something light because we're working at it like 1 or 2 o'clock. I want to baby that training window. I'm going to eat good before, or heavy, not good, but a little heavier before, a little heavier after. But in the morning, or for the first half of the day, I'm sitting. Why do I need to be fueled to do this?
100%
Yeah, so
relevant
you
to
got
your
to
activity
balance
level.
all that stuff
Yeah.
out. So again, a part of a successful reverse is getting out of that mindset, because a lot of people come to me post show and they want me to handle their reverse into their preseason, into their next prep, because they weren't happy where they're coming from. And when the first thing I say is like, yeah, this whole every 3 hour thing, like you could be a little loose. It doesn't have to be every 3 hours. Sometimes I'll go 4 hours. You know, if 3 hours really works for you and it doesn't screw you up, then fine. Being my guest, I'm not gonna tell you not to, but you got to be smart with where you're placing the calories. Not every meal has to be equal. Oh, these are my macros, my calories for the day. I'm gonna divide by 5 or 6, and then every 3 hours. And then it's like, then what I get is, oh my God, I was late at work and my meals got pushed. It's like,
okay,
who cares? Okay,
Just eat 2 at once.
Just eat. Just eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people don't learn because all they're doing is, oh, I have to eat this at that time. At 3 o'clock, I have to eat this. Holy fuck, it's 3:05.
Because they don't think for themselves.
Yeah.
No, they have to use it as a guideline.
It's like, holy shit, it's 3:05.
Written in stone.
What am I going to do?
Exactly. The coaches that push that philosophy on them. They're like, no, this is the way to do it.
You know, to build on what you said and also what you said, you know, getting back to social media. And I kind of threw a hand grenade into a conversation 2 years ago when somebody had brought up if it fits your macros. Now, you know, with working with Dr. Joe has always been big on flexibility within eating plans.
But he was never a zealot where it was like, when people say if it fits your macros, I feel like there's the zealots who are just like, I'm going to make sprinkles and all this stuff. Dr. Joe believed in moderation.
Responsible flexibility.
Yes. Just counting. Yes.
And it became a social media sensation of, you know, how much
cookie
crap,
crisps. Yep. I can eat.
Could we put out there and say it fits my macros? So I made the statement of that it's the new CrossFit.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, you had like metabolic training, metabolic conditioning is something I believe in. CrossFit has taken that to a almost cult-like status now, and it comes almost out to be how much crazy stuff can we do in a workout? How hard can we push ourselves?
Yeah.
All due respect, I have friends that are CrossFit coaches that I trust completely. But there are those people that try to, you know, just take it to the extreme. So if it fits your macros, what we've done is we've taken a flexible dieting plan and let's just see how much crap we can fit into these meal plans. And people look on social media, they see pictures of Cinnabon, or they see pictures of, you know, candy corn and M&Ms, and they think, you know, that's what if it fits your macros.
You can do that.
And it's become that.
And guess who has to deal with that problem? Me. Because someone who doesn't have any food intolerances or allergies, is a genetic freak, they can eat tree bark and probably look great.
Right.
And then you have someone who's allergic to this, gets inflammation from that, they eat that, and I'm wondering, like, why the fuck are you not losing weight? Why are you not losing weight? Macros are coming lower, and I'm just like, what is happening? And meanwhile, I find out, you know, that things like dairy are still in there very heavy. I'm not a fan of dairy. Like wheat and stuff like that, not a lot of people have a wheat sensitivity where they're going to have wheat and then it's going to be a watery mess on show day. But I have a lot of people who are, it's like, all right, at the 8-week mark, we're limiting dairy, and then same macro, same everything, and then boom, all of a sudden they look exponentially better.
A sensitivity.
Yes, and a lot of people have that sensitivity. So they come to me, they see this stuff, like you said, this if it fits your macro stuff, and they're going super liberal with it. We're doing this, we're eating this.
Kind of Arctic Zero a night.
And I'm like, here we go.
Sounds good, though.
Here we go.
Enlightened is better.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, I got the backlash on it was, you know, that's the stupidest thing you've ever said. And it's like, no, trust me, I've said a lot of stuff. And it's, you don't know, you know, or I don't understand it, or I don't do this. And, you know, explaining my position, it's kind of hard to argue, you know, if we're going to sit there and we're going to say that there are, you know, good, better, best protein sources, or good, better, best fat sources, or good, better, best carb sources, then it doesn't mean that all calories are really equal. There's more, there's better choices, there's more benefits to certain types of things than to others. So rather than looking at it from strictly an accounting standpoint of total calories, total fat, total carbs, total protein, let's take a look at like the bulk of our calories coming from the better or best sources,
for sure.
as opposed
How
to
you're gonna feel, your energy levels,
For
blood
sure.
sugar levels,
and that was my point. And you know, like I said, it's you know, kind of threw the hand grenade in there, and now, you know, I like to think that maybe we're getting away from
yes,
that. And
it felt like it went real hard,
Yeah.
and now it's all of a sudden starting to come back. Where it's like, oh yeah, we can have certain dirtier stuff, but you know, we're still doing we're eating bro foods, but we're counting on macros. It's like, oh, so what educated people have been doing since 2006?
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
like, okay.
But that's also refreshing that people are starting to understand
Yeah.
that extreme isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah, but try
And it's
try
unhealthy.
rolling that back though. Try saying no. Try beating Santa Claus. You know what I'm saying? Like some competitor comes to me and says, "Oh well, this coach lets them eat this, and this, and this," and I'm like, "Well, that's not happening." You know, because yes, they're promoting their best athlete who has probably no sensitivities and they are just a freak. Look at their other people though. Well, do you see anyone rising up more? Do you see anyone can make a 9 into a 9.5, but do you see their 3s turning to 7s? No, I see their 3s turning to 3.25s. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not much move because they're following the same thing. I mean, not everyone can do that, so it's hard to fight Santa Claus. And now it just seems like Santa Claus is dying out.
Well, Santa Claus was also science-based. Because
Yes.
everybody that was jumping on this was supposedly a science-based. Yeah, and that's the.
And
that's,
I'm a science tech brain, and I'm like, you guys exhaust me.
It's what science are we listening to? Because it's I go into some of the, you know, the more educated groups and look at discussions, and the arguments are flying back and forth about research, or there's research that comes out every couple of months that contradicts it. Things like that. So I'm tired of hearing again that, you know, I'm a science-based trainer, everybody else isn't, and they're preaching one way of doing things. 6 months later, they're preaching something totally different because science tells us something else. And it's like, well, what were you doing 6 months ago? I mean, so that was bad science, that was good science, that was,
Jumping on the bandwagon.
and I'm, yeah.
And
again,
they pull down all the stuff. They pull the articles. I'm not going to say his name, but when I started with Dr. Joe, I was like, there's another trainer out there who was, you know, famous, and he was putting out all this stuff that kind of was different than Joe's. And I'm like, all right, so the law of odds would be that I did not nail the best trainer in my first attempt. So therefore, let's start to explore other inputs. And I got this other guy out there saying a lot of these things, and I'm like, all right, so I can try that. I can try to blend a little bit, whatever. And then I started trying certain of those things, and it didn't work too well. Not to mention that fast forward 4, 5, 6 months later, all of a sudden I found out that all those old articles, all those bodybuilding.com articles had been pulled, and then this person then started to work with Dr. Joe, who I guess he handled his prep or whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he was preaching all the same stuff that Dr. Joe had right the first time. I was like, in the law of odds. Wow, maybe I did.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, how did that happen? You know what I'm saying? So it's like he went so hardcore in one direction to be different, and then in the end, like you said, it was all gone, and now he's doing something else.
You know, and that's, again, it's, you know, I have a very hard time speaking in absolutes in this sport.
I try to be very,
because there's so many variables that affect us. You know, but the thing I think that irks me, and I can admit there's stuff that I wrote, you know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that's still very relevant.
Yes.
But there's also stuff I was wrong about.
Me too. I know.
And I'll be the first to admit that, you know, at the time I thought that this was, science has proved me wrong, and that's, you know, that's fine. you get people that will say, aha, I knew it all along. Really? Then why 6 months ago were you telling everybody to do it this way?
This way, yep. Some like when people sign up now, like I'm waiting for a new software and all that. So some of the old like regime is still there. People will sign up and it was still like forwarding them, oh, read over through my ebook if you have any questions. And they'll hit me up and they're like, oh, I read this in your ebook. I'm like, oh, I was a little too crazy and a little too anal, and it was too much. I was like, all that stuff, a lot of that stuff I became a little more flexible with. You know, I treated everything like it was a lab experiment. Like everyone lived in a bubble where you can maintain all the variables. It just never happens that way. So going away from stuff like that and, you know, updating stuff, yes. But some of these people, they just went in a complete, you know, 180. Like it's not the point of like, oh, I evolved. It's like, no, I just flip-flopped. You know, it's like it's a big thing. But yeah, with that macro situation too, it's like when I say macros, some people are uneducated, like, oh, you do. It's like no. We're not eating. We don't have to. You don't have to eat crap. Oh, I don't want to eat garbage. I'm like, why would I make you eat garbage?
Why would I tell you to
I'm
do
just
that?
telling you. I just need to know that you're hitting these numbers. Like that's it.
And that was my point. It's gotten, you know, that rather than saying flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, and the symbolism that you saw on people's Instagrams or Facebook pages of, you know, of all the crap, that's what it got associated with. And for somebody that, you know, is more into the clean eating, you know, they're going to shy away from it. For somebody that wants to learn about it, they're thinking, okay, well, hey, I can eat crap all day and still, you know, still excel in my sport.
Yeah. And it spilled over into like the training too, where it's like the big thing became like, oh, the push-pull split with legs, and it's like you have to do that. If you train like a bro, you know, you're behind. It's like you can't ever train arms on its own day, or you can't have like a bro split. It's just like, what do we?
Which there was a thread about that with a respected scholar, and they were talking about the frequency of hitting body parts.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not necessarily the split, it's exercise selection.
Yeah.
So if I want to call it, let's say, arm day.
Yeah.
I like arm day because I'm a bro.
Yeah.
And I'm doing close grip bench presses, or I'm doing dips or reverse grip bench presses. I'm also hitting some upper chest. I'm also hitting some shoulders. So it's kind of a secondary work.
Exactly.
If I'm doing trap bar deadlifts on back day, and then I'm squatting a couple of days later on leg day, I'm pretty much working the same muscle groups that I did.
But why can't you just have a balance? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't you have a balance? Why can't you throw in that push-pull leg power hypertrophy program and also do some more bro stuff? Why can't that be there? Because here's the thing: if that way of training is the only way to training, how boring does that become?
Yep.
So on the radar screen, the little blip shows that this way of training is the best way, but now the client is no longer engaged or motivated. So in a lab, yes, it shows that this is the way to the promised land. But now I'm bored. I'm finding a new coach. I'm doing this. I'm not engaged. I'm not pushing hard enough. I'm bored. I get bored. So then what happens? Now it's not as productive. You need some variety. It's just the idea of dealing with these absolutes is I can't.
What is it? The variety, spice of life.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
You know,
there was a I don't know if you've ever read Mass. It's Eric Helms and Greg Nuckols put it out. It's a multi-periodization where they pretty much examine strength training research. So a couple of months ago, they had a great article on examining just what you were talking about. Examining, you know, is the you know, DUP the best way of training? Because for years people were saying that's, you know, DUP, it's the way you have to train. And, you know, in an analysis, a more flexible approach was actually more beneficial to, to a rigid DUP program.
Yeah.
Because people need them to be able to make those little adjustments during a training cycle, that if you are too rigid and, hey, your program says you've got to do this on this particular day, you know, it can be frustrating, it can be discouraging, it can be boring.
Yeah, you lose motivation. Motivation is a big thing.
That's
If
it.
you're not motivated, I'm doing this. Well, I'm doing this shit, the same type of thing, the same body parts together all the time for this long. I'm out. I'm done. How are you going to see my results if I don't want to do it? You know, like I do believe in those programs, but I feel like there's a place for a lot of different programs.
There's flexibility everywhere. You know, there has to be, you know, because of the variables, because of stuff that goes on in your everyday life that, you know, maybe you don't get a good night's sleep. Maybe you can't make it to the gym. Maybe your car breaks down. You know, you're going to get out, you're going to run down the highway to make sure that you get your squat workout in or something like that. Or
what if you can't squat?
What if you can't squat?
You know, like
things happen. So
And
you
I'm
have to
glad
have
you said that. Because life is so dynamic. You can't be in this little petri dish or in, you know, that absolute because of those things.
Yep.
Your day to day changes. That's why it's a day to day.
Right.
You know, and it's not the same day.
And each athlete's different. Each athlete has different muscle insertion points. Each athlete is a different age. Each athlete has different hormone levels. Each athlete has different skin thickness. Each athlete has a different metabolism. It is so many things. So for someone to say, this is the way to train all the time. It's like, oh my God, will you go away? Go away. Just please go away.
Hashtag deadlift day. Hashtag squat day. Hashtag gotta do this, gotta do that. You know, I don't know, again, going back to the whole romantic aspect of it of like, yep, I did my deadlifts today. Got to post it on Facebook, got to post it on Instagram, or it didn't happen. And it's just like, well, you know what? I've been doing deadlifts since 1979 and not really magical about it.
It happens.
1979, Ayatollah Khomeini takes over Iran.
Here we go.
There we go.
History lesson real quick.
Okay, we're good here?
Yeah.
We're going to roll into, what are we doing next? It is? Or do we have another drag and drop? No, we do have it. Okay. All right, so we're good?
Yeah.
Any input? Any last? Okay. So I hope that sits well with you guys. We're going to move into our next segment, which is going to be Someone at this Table. Okay, here we go. Someone at this table. Guest number 1. I don't like guacamole, and I am a founder of a bike club. So mark that down who you think that is. Nice and big so I can see. All right.
How do you spell your name?
What?
What's the spell your name?
T.
T. Yes, right, T. Guest number 2. I have an irrational fear of the Titanic. Totally freaks me out. Can't watch the movie. Can't watch documentaries about it. And I can't look at pictures of the wreck. Guest number 2. Guest number 3. When I was in 6th grade, I found out I have an extra bone in my foot when I agitated it playing flag football in gym. Extra bone in the foot. Guest 4. European handball was my favorite gym class sport to play. And guest number 5. My first time eating meat after being a vegetarian for years was a chicken quesadilla from Taco Bell.
That's a good story.
All right. Guess 1. I don't like guacamole, and I'm a founder of a bike club. Rich, what do you got for that? Taniya. Okay. Taniya.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so everyone gets a point.
Oh,
All right,
man,
no more writing. No more writing now.
I don't like guacamole either.
No more adjusting. So everyone gets a point
I'm
there.
not alone.
Okay, guess 2. I have a irrational fear of the Titanic. That is Rich.
Oh.
Rich. Ryan.
I was gonna say Sarah.
And Sarah. So who gets the point?
Don't judge.
Rich and Shauna. Damn,
Don't take me
one
out.
point away. Okay, when I was in 6th grade, I found out I have an extra bone in my foot. Ryan, Sarah. The answer is Sarah.
Shauna is killing the
And
game.
you had Rich. So who's got it? So Shauna's got the point, and Sarah's tie game between Rich and Shauna.
It's on, man.
Just put my board down.
Guess
I like
4.
everything
European
else.
handball is my favorite gym class sport to play. Rich, what do you got? Shauna. Damn, you did get it.
She got it. Wow.
Damn.
Oh, see,
Now this is
I
like
was
extra
contemplating
pressure.
Right.
those two
So
questions that I have to get.
Taniya and Shauna. So okay, and my first time eating meat after being a vegetarian, I had a chicken quesadilla. Who'd you have?
Sara, and that's Shauna. Shauna. So Taniya, Sara, and Shauna. So Shauna wins.
Finally.
But we know the story. Shauna cannot take home the Prix. Oh, which here we go. Which means that the runner-up, which is Rich, wins the Prix.
Yay.
Oh, thank you.
There we go.
Now you have to use this before your workout.
Yes.
It's Prix.
At least 30 to 60 minutes.
Okay.
On an empty stomach, and then fasted workout.
And then you die.
And then no eating anything after.
All right. So
Ice chips.
again, thank you to NutriBio for providing us with the Prix. I always like someone at this table. It's always fun. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, we're gonna wrap things up with our last lap. So we'll go around the table and we will start with Rich, the winner of the Prix.
Very, very, very proud to be the winner of this. I'll treasure it always, or at least for 30 workouts.
Yes.
So thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. I looking forward to coming to some of the shows this year and seeing Team SUF. Nice meeting everybody.
Yeah.
And, hope to see some people at the DFAC World Finals on November 10th in Miami. It's open to all natural pros and top 3 finishers at any natural show.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my plans for the rest of the year.
All right, good.
Thank you everyone for making it out here. We always appreciate everyone, especially when they have to travel a lot. I wanted to say good luck to all of the Team SUF competitors in this upcoming season. We had a few this weekend and a few weeks back that did well.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. We have Ray, yeah.
Yep.
Ray and Stacy.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to a really productive and great season.
I want to thank, as always, Initium Eyewear, the best in eyewear, whether it be the stylish glasses, prescription glasses, computer glasses, which I need. NutriBio for always helping us out, giving us the product to give away on the show. Ink That Apparel, Javier and Jason, who help out with all my crazy t-shirts and all the stickers and all that stuff. They always take care of me. Black Lapel for always helping me out with my nice jackets and suits. And Be Firm Lotion, who's another sponsor for the show. So I appreciate that. I want you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it. You can go to www.suftouughtable.com. You can go to the table of contents. You can see all the topics we cover. You don't have to necessarily watch a full episode. You can just click what topic speaks to you, click that link, and it'll take you right to that video, that episode, and that timestamp. You can watch from there. And the Team SUF coming up this next couple weeks, and the spring season. Everyone's been working hard. We had Ray and Stacy yesterday compete. We got three second place finishes out of those 2 athletes. We had a nice NPC win with Brandon a couple weeks back. So trying to build up that momentum for these spring shows.
I'd like to say thank you for having me on First Tough Table. Great meeting Rich. Great seeing Taniya after a while.
Yes.
I'll be working the Northeast Classic as staff coming up in a few weeks. So I'm excited to see everybody else get the motivation pumping and ready to put my head down and get into the grind for my season later this fall.
Get ready for fall.
Well, just thank you for having me. It's also my first Tough Table. Can't believe it, but it has been my first. Yeah. Tons of fun, a lot of fun, and it's nice to meet you, Rich.
Definitely be back for more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And big thanks to Brian stepping in as 6th man. Okay, Do Boogie doing work, I guess we're out. So hold them up. So that concludes episode number 13 of Tough Table. Okay.